certain extent are considered to be giants, they to a great extent would be mentoring and would be speaking about various different aspects about this particular ecosystem as such. So I'm pretty sure you all would enjoy it. And beside that, you all will get sensitized about, and I'm hoping that more number, perhaps number of students would participate further in the areas, in the days to come in this particular area as such. So with this, once again, I declare that the Innofest Summit is open, and I welcome once again every one of you. And I thank all the authorities of the PCMC, the mayor, the commissioner, the auto cluster over there present there. Officials who are incidentally also looking after their innovation space, every one of you, and including the Ramesh who has joined from Hyderabad. So with this, I once again congratulate everyone. I stop over here. Thank you so very much.
We are having some technical issues. I think we'll take a 5-minute break. Audio is matching. We'll take a 5-minute break. Let me resolve this.
We have a little bit of technical difficulty for the viewers to hear what's happening here. So we just take a quick 1-minute break to understand and get back to you.
ना होस्ट करनी है होस्ट होता हम ही होस्ट है होस्ट है तो लीव करो मैं स्टार्ट
कोविडच्या टाइमात त्यांनी ऍक्टिव्हिटी आर्टिफिशियल ते सगळं बाकी आयसोलेशन मध्ये
We start the program again. After, I hope everyone is able to hear now. Yeah, okay. We have the honor of having with us as the keynote speaker, Ajit Rangnekar ji. Ajit sir is the Director General.
Director.
मला अनम्यूट करून याच्यावर सुरू करतो. अनम्यूट करून. हॅलो, चेक चेक.
Just a quick introduction of Rangnekar sir. He is Director General of Research and Innovation Circles of Hyderabad, a Telangana government initiative. He's the retired Dean of Indian School of Business, which is India's highest ranked business school. He is on the governing board of IITH, a founding member of T-Hub, board member of several companies. Prior to ISB, he was in Hong Kong for 20 years. 14 of these years he spent with PricewaterhouseCoopers in consulting, and he was in various roles as country head with PwC Hong Kong, East Asia head of PwC Telecom practices. He's a graduate of IIT Bombay and a post-graduation from IIM Ahmedabad. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Now it's unmute now. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you can hear me now. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I thought your people were actually very smart. Apurvatai, when they shut off during the introduction, because I think if every one of us is extremely innovative, it is when we write our bios. That is one time when each one of us is at our creative best. But jokes aside, thank you very much for inviting me to Innofest 2021. I'm greatly honored. And I've seen what you have done in the last, 18 odd months. So my hearty congratulations to Dr. Palkar and the university for this initiative. I think this is really great and I'm very pleased to see this. I'm going to take a step back from the pandemic and look at this whole issue of innovation, entrepreneurship, and what's happening. I think the very good thing is that right now, innovation and entrepreneurship are slowly taking center stage across the country. But I think we have to be a little careful. We are reaching the other end of the spectrum. Somebody doesn't like what I'm saying, but I'll continue anyway. So I think we must recognize that when we talk of innovation and entrepreneurship, we are not talking just about entrepreneurs and innovators, but we are talking about and appreciating the roles of all the players in this ecosystem. So it's also about those who do pure research, because it's from research that innovation happens and from innovation that entrepreneurship takes place. Right? It is also extremely important to understand the role of enablers like governments, municipalities, investors, obviously service providers who actually help us with, and here we have service providers including IT, etc., etc. Customers who use it, and the civil society that all of us live in and whose taxes and facilities actually help us to create this infrastructure that all of us use as innovation. So unless all these factors are in harmony and they all come together, I submit that long-term sustainable innovation will not become a way of life. So what we want is everyone to have an innovative mindset in everything we do, but not that everyone must become an innovator or an entrepreneur. And I think this is a very, very important distinction, because sometimes we get carried away with this whole business of innovation and entrepreneurship, and we kind of downgrade the role that teachers play. I would also submit to you that the overwhelming focus of innovation is to make life easier for the educated and well-off segment of society generally. Okay. So the most biggest beneficiaries of all innovations have been the urban middle class and the wealthy, whether it's e-commerce, financial services, social media, even education, right? I mean, when you have a valuation of $12 billion, you must get an EBITDA of 20%. What is that? Some 18,000 crores or something? How is that kind of an education going to be of benefit for the poor? So I would like innovations in the future, and I would like especially young students to think about this. We have to think of innovations which are the building blocks of the country. So we need innovations in food and agriculture, in health, in education, in environment, and probably the toughest of them all, in societal equity and equality. So let me expand on each of this. Today, I mean, India has had a history, Green Revolution from Professor Swaminathan's time, of innovation in agriculture, but that has stabilized. Now there is very, very little new innovations in agriculture. We in Rich today are working with 27 different startups in agriculture, agri-tech space. But I don't think we have scratched even 1/100th of 1% of our agriculture problems. And there is a lot more that needs to be done, whether we use AI, ML, whether we use robotics, whether we use whatever we do. But there is enormous amount to be done. Take health. I think one thing that the pandemic did was that it demonstrated very clearly the enormous contribution that our vaccine industry has been doing in the world for years and for decades. At least all of us got to know about it. Similarly, a large number of startups came in this. I know that we evaluated some 65 startups to help. But again, if you start going deep, so when the pandemic hit, there was not a single RT-PCR kit being made in India. Today we are surplus. But every single ingredient of that RT-PCR kit comes from abroad. So where is the innovation? So now we are working with MSMEs in the biotech sector to upgrade their quality and their capability to be able to produce every test capability in our country. And there are, if you look at the poor today, why can't telemedicine be used so that the poor have access to easy to use health? Today, public health is one of the least developed parts of our ecosystem. And where are the startups which are taking that telemedicines and help to rural poor India? Take education. As I already said, with the $12 billion valuation, you are not going to help the poor. In fact, the pandemic very vividly proved that while the middle class and the wealthy were able to do something, including e-education, the poor suffered the most. Where are our startups which can think of using television as a channel? Because that's one thing which is at least reaches 50-60% of our population, maybe more. How can we think in completely new ways so that the society benefits and not just that the better get better? Environment. This is something that I feel, and I'm delighted that today in your audience, there are so many young people who are working on environment, whether it's home compost to waste to whatever. Congratulations to all of you. I'm so proud of you. This is one of the toughest areas for us to work in. Because what is the justification for clean environment? If I make Pune clean, where is the financial return? Nothing. In Hyderabad, we have got 300 lakes, which are being polluted every day. The slum population of every major city in our country is growing at a rapid pace. In Hyderabad, the slum population tripled in 10 years. And they don't have any access to sewage, they don't have access to clean water, they don't have access to anything. So how are we going to solve it? We are working, by the way, with startups to demonstrate that small, discrete sewage and water clean system can be used. But our water bodies need to be cleaned, right? Because that is where dengue happens, that's where malaria happens, because that's where the mosquitoes breed, in stagnant water, in dirty, infested places. So how are we as environmentalists do it? The problem here is that this benefit is societal and not financial. And this is where universities have to come in and figure out a way of convincing the users, which are typically governments, municipalities, and others, as to whether this is worthwhile. So if I can clean Pune at the cost of 1 rupee per person per day, will the municipality accept it? I think the mayor and the thing of Pimpri-Chinchwad municipality, I think they'll probably jump at it. But what if it's 20 rupees? They may not be able to afford it. So how do we help them find the right solution that is affordable to everyone? And these are things that all of us have to do. Okay. So I would like to see as many of you get into many of these spaces. There is, and I'll go back to education because I did mention, I think 5G and AR, VR offers us the greatest opportunity to democratize education. 10 years from now, you could be a girl in a distant village in maybe Bihar or Chhattisgarh, and you will have access to the best educator in the world at a time you want, in the language you want, at the speed you want, on a topic you want, thanks to 5G and AR/VR. What are we doing today about it? In what way are we investing our time and efforts to be ready for that future? So I want many of you young people to not think of just making money. Yes, you want to make money, by all means making, and you will make money. You know, making money is not. In fact, it's my very firm belief that a real entrepreneur is not created by money. It's not money that drives it. Money drives people, and then they find that it doesn't work. My friend Satish Andhra, who runs India Partners, defines that there are 4 factors which any successful entrepreneur needs. The first is passion for a cause. If you're not passionate, if it doesn't leave you with sleepless nights, I remember when we started, we don't call ourselves entrepreneur, but I remember when we started ISB 20 years ago, we wouldn't sleep. We said, we have to make this successful. I don't care what happens. So you need a passion. But having found a passion, then the second most important thing is to find the right problem to solve. You know, in our education system, we focus on solutions. But if you are driving the best car in the world on a road which is going nowhere, what is the use? The road must take you to the destination. It must be a problem that you want to solve. And a problem to solve, first of all, must be technically feasible. Second thing is it must be on a scale which has a big impact, and yet be so unique that nobody else has done it. And finally, it must make economic sense. So finding the right problem to solve is actually one of our biggest challenges. And this is something we tried doing this in ISB, and I hope everyone does it, that instead of focusing on problem solving, we actually talk on problem defining. And in the education system, we said, first figure out what is the right problem we want to solve, then we'll find enough solutions. The third thing, so passion for a cause, right problem to solve. The third thing is a very strong implementation ability. Apurvatai mentioned that I was 20 years in Hong Kong, and I used to do a lot of my work in China, and I was in Tianjin, with the Tianjin, Vice Mayor of Tianjin. And he wanted me to bring all the Indian tech companies there, the Infosys, Wipro, etc., etc. And we were chatting. He was, lavish. He gave us a very lavish dinner just to convince us, etc. And so I said, but you want our tech companies, but you're doing much better. I mean, so by that time he had had a few drinks, so he was in an expensive mood. He said, see, strategy, India 100, China 40. But implementation, China 100, India only 10. And this we see today. Even I've been working with startups now for what? From 2004. So whatever, 17 years, 16, 17 years. Implementation is one of our biggest weaknesses. And we have to focus. Somehow in India, we Jnana, Buddhi, etc. are far more important for us than they're actually rattoing of. We look down on blue collar work, for example, or for manual work. But implementation is the toughest thing and the most important thing we have to do, which means overcoming setbacks, agility to change, getting help. People ask me, whom do you help? I said, whoever bothers me multiple times is the person I help, because I said, that is the person who's really passionate. At the same time, keeping focus. Another thing which in India we have not been very good at is working collaboratively with others. And nowadays, when we are working on so many projects, so for example, we are working on nutrition enhancement for tribal women. By the way, I didn't even talk about societal equity and equality. I just mentioned that it was. But women, first category of people who are disadvantaged. And I think as a society, we have to do more. But even then going down, tribals, the scheduled castes, etc., the two biggest groups for which I feel personally ashamed are transgenders and people with disabilities. and we do so little for them. So how can we? So we are now doing projects with to improve the health, especially of mothers and children in tribal world, and it requires us to work with 17 different public and private bodies. And unless you have an ability to work collaboratively, each one of whom has a different perspective. The government has their own perspective, the startup has its own, the research institution has third, somebody else has it fourth, so, and in between the politicians get in and do their own thing. So all these things, how do we work with others? This is extremely important, and this is the third and perhaps the most important thing. And finally, the fourth requirement is something that will perhaps surprise many of you. An ability for excellent storytelling. A startup is not about a great idea. It is about convincing the world that you have a great idea. And that convincing requires you to really, way back in early 2000, when the the whole industry of microfinance took off. You remember what it was? It was all about Karutamma is a 65-year-old woman sitting in some village, poor, this thing. And now microfinance has transformed her life. All of us felt wonderful. It is that ability to tell your story in such a way that you can get everybody else to come together. That is what we have to do. So once again, I think, I hope that there is at least one young person. I know there are some people, and I've seen that list of participants. There are some in waste and there are some in compost and so on. And thank you. But I hope there is at least one more today who decides that her or his passion is going to be to solve some big, complex problems of our country. I wish there'll be many, many more people like you. And I hope that you will do a much better job than I and my generation did for our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That was really enlightening and very helpful to all the startups who have logged in. Actually, I've seen people who have logged in on the Zoom platform. There are more than 700 people who are on the VR platform who are actually watching you and listening to you. Hopefully, they're able to listen to you. From here, we take you all from Hyderabad back to PCMC, where we have the commissioner, sir, and the mayor, madam, waiting for us. So we have Rajesh Pataljee, who is the commissioner of PCMC. Sir has joined the services under the Odisha cadre and started as the subdivisional magistrate in 2006. He has worked very successfully on rehabilitation during the year 2008 on flooding of Mahanadi. He has been awarded with the President's Award for outstanding work for rehabilitation of people with disabilities in 2014. The Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Manrega, implementation in Mayurbhanj district, Chief Minister's Award for Excellence, and most innovative intervention in 2016, and many more. Over to PCMC, to the Commissioner, sir, for your address, sir. Mayor, madam may want to speak a few words before Rajesh ji.
Yeah, I would request Honorable Mayor to kind of share our views and guide us now to future course of action. Ma'am, please.
Namaste. माननीय कुलगुरू सावित्रीबाई फुले पुणे विद्यापीठ आणि उपस्थित सर्व मान्यवर आयुक्त साहेब, मला पिंपरी चिंचवड शहराची प्रथम नागरिक व महापौर या नात्याने आपणास सांगण्यात अत्यंत आनंद होत आहे की आपले शहर हे जागतिक दर्जाचे औद्योगिक शहर आहे. पिंपरी चिंचवड शहरात भारत सरकारद्वारे राबविण्यात आलेल्या स्मार्ट सिटी प्रकल्पाअंतर्गत आपण इन्क्युबेशन सेंटर सुरू केले आहे. या प्रकल्पामुळे आपल्या शहरातील तरुण वर्गाला नवीन आणि सृजनशील उपक्रम करण्याची संधी उपलब्ध झाली आहे. एक स्पर्धात्मक व्यवसाय सुरू करण्याकरिता केवळ उत्तम कल्पनेची गरज नसून या व्यतिरिक्त दोन महत्वाच्या बाबी म्हणजे निधीची गुंतवणूक व सखोल मार्गदर्शन. या अनुषंगाने इन्क्युबेशन सेंटरची भूमिका महत्वाची आहे. इन्क्युबेशन सेंटर मध्ये सहभागी होणाऱ्या सर्वांना संपूर्ण सहाय्य केले जाईल. सदर इन्क्युबेशन सेंटर हे मार्गदर्शकाची भूमिका बजावेल. तसेच काही अंशी सुरुवातीच्या गुंतवणुकीस देखील सहकार्य करेल. व्यवसाय कसा सुरू करायचा, त्यात कायदेशीर बाबी काय असणार आहेत, त्याचं मार्केटिंग कसं करावं या संबंधीचे मार्गदर्शन यामार्फत केले जाईल. तसेच सावित्रीबाई फुले पुणे विद्यापीठासोबत केलेल्या सामंजस्य कराराअंतर्गत आपणास विद्यापीठाचे प्राध्यापक मार्गदर्शन करतील. त्याचबरोबर पिंपरी चिंचवड येथील ॲटो क्लस्टर येथे उपलब्ध असलेल्या विविध अभियांत्रिकी सुविधा देखील वापरण्यास मिळतील. नुकताच झालेला हॅकेथॉन आणि फिशफेस्ट मध्ये 100हून अधिक स्टार्टअप आणि इन्क्युबेटर सहभागी झाले होते. या सर्वांचे मनपूर्वक अभिनंदन. तसेच पुणे पिंपरी चिंचवड शहरात झालेल्या या प्रकल्पाला लाभलेल्या सहकार्यामुळे व इतक्या मोठ्या संख्येने प्रतिसाद दिल्यामुळे आपले खूप खूप आभार. अशा नाविन्यपूर्ण उपक्रमामुळे भावी उद्योजक घडविण्याच्या दृष्टीने हे एक महत्त्वपूर्ण पाऊल आपण ठेवत आहोत. इन्क्युबेशन सेंटर प्रकल्पामुळे नवीन पिढी व्यवसायामध्ये देखील आपले भविष्य उज्ज्वल करू शकते. स्मार्ट सिटीच्या या प्रकल्पामुळे आपल्या शहराच्या आर्थिक विकासाला चालना मिळेल हीच माझी अपेक्षा. धन्यवाद.
थँक्यू मॅडम.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable Mayor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, all the dignitaries who have joined for this beautiful program, and all the budding entrepreneurs. Good evening to all. I feel honored to be part of this initiative, and once again, I feel so fortunate that I am getting connected with my alma mater. I am a student of Savitribai Phule Pune University. I have spent 3 years of my youth period and saw the dream to be part of the development process of this country. And this program which I am going to elaborate as to how we have been associated with this. This is going to be a unique kind of an initiative where a municipal corporation joins hands with the university and talks about startup and talks about inculcating the dreams of the young mind. As a CEO of Smart City Limited, I mean the Pimpri Chinchwad Smart City Limited, which is basically responsible for converting this urban area into a smart city. and with the initiative of collaborative initiative of Maratha Chamber of Commerce and Industries, we have conceptualized something called auto cluster long back in 2000, few years back, and which has already taken root and promoting similar kind of activities. And one of the important objective of smart city is basically to provide for a re-energized local economy. And this cannot happen unless we have a platform where we incubate the ideas and promote entrepreneurs who would help the city corporation to address some of the problems of the modern life. And in that, we have started an incubation center, which is a special purpose vehicle of the, which is called Pimpri Chinchwad Startup Incubation Center, which is a special purpose vehicle being created by Smart City Limited and the Auto Cluster. And now this incubation center is it has signed an MOU with the Center of Innovation and Incubation and Enterprise of the Savitribai Phule University. So naturally, this
now, are you re-looking at the plans? And we'll come to that later. And if you haven't, then are you really exploring? Fantastic perspective. Professor Dr. Acharya, would love to hear your views.
I think you need to. I think you need to unmute him.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I think thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Binit, and thanks, ma'am. I think with the perspective that you have given, yes. To initiate, we need to understand there is a pattern at which of all the business is typically happening over a period of time. These patterns are all followed from the point. I think the Stanford or the Silicon Valley actually promoted the type of startups there at that point of time, and this is the same pattern emerge, and newer startups come to the marketplace. So currently, at this point of time, whether I'm an existing business or I'm ready to go to the market with the newer ideas, I need to understand what the changes in the macro level has taken place and how I can connect to the customer on those changes. Broadly change, yes. This pandemic has forced us to think that digital is one of the way to work out. Where the machine can work, we can take away the human interface and take this machines at that point of time. For there is a change that people will love to do so many things themselves rather than depending on some outsider to help them. So if you can take those particular points, that what are the different patterns which has emerged over a period of time, if you try to create a business model or a business idea, I think we can certainly get more success in the market at the current scenario.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. I think I want to go back to Mrs. Kirloskar from the point that we mentioned of actually looking at pandemic as an opportunity from the perspective. It could be a social venture, a pure venture. So how does one look at how's the economic and the business landscape change, and your broad takeaway on that environment?
Okay, so here's one. If you have already started and the pandemic has hit you, then I think you need to rework your prices, because it's a good time. There's less money in the market. You may want to rework your prices. Instead of being a outright buy option, you may say, can we make this into a subscription model? By the way, even big pharma are doing that today. Your vaccination, in my opinion, is a subscription model, because you need to take it every 6 months. So, instead of taking it once in your lifetime, it may be once in 6 months, once a year. So there's no harm in going down the subscription model. You may think of higher purchase. So there are many options. You may think of doing more of customer service. So you need to connect up with your customers and say, how is it that I can help you? You may want to use to promote your product social media, Facebook. Today you have such a lot of Google analytics, that they can dice and splice how your clients are using your service or using your product, and it will give you better insights as to how to get there. So there are very good algorithms today. Yes, they do cost money sometimes, but if you are, instead of investing in real infrastructure, the new type of infrastructure you may want to spend on is on the internet. So I would say try it. Proactively build up your websites. Many large companies who did not have websites have now engaged in starting websites and connecting up with your people. See, let's understand that funding will take you a certain distance. Your sustainability is only dependent on who buys your product. So your first person must be the person who buys your product. So you have to be in touch with him no matter what. No matter how much money you have, you're going to run out of all that if you're unable to connect up with your last mile client. And if he's not going to be happy with you, he's not coming back for the second round of purchase. So here's my take. My take is, yes, you have to consider that in this kind of pandemic, different areas are also being sealed off. So if areas are sealed off, how are you going to reach your clients? But internet is not sealed off. So you can use the internet to approach your clients. You can have a new set of system whereby you can deliver your product. So I think, again, there's some things I would recommend that if you're already just started your business, rework.
Okay, so that's the mantra: rework. Look at things very, very, very critically. And I think, Professor, I mean, as somebody who's handling an incubation center, are you seeing instances that Mrs. Kirloskar quoted of startups, migrating, pivoting, adapting to this environment? And could you maybe give us some?
Yeah, I think I can give some of those examples. So I have one of the startup which was the company was into algae-based solutions. So they were previously cleaning the water. So with the algae solutions are applying to the water, and the water actually being polluted by this factories which has been running in Baroda, Surat and other places. So they are releasing various pollutant waters, and the water bodies nearby was getting polluted. And so that's the way the business idea was to release those algae on those areas so that it can work out. But when the pandemic struck, all those factories also shut down. So all of a sudden they started polluting or releasing lesser quantity of water, and the whole business model was because they didn't find more customer for that. But at the same time, the same startup, they could find out another opportunity that at that point of time we are bringing lot many what is called this fertilizers, the ingredient for the fertilizers from China, and there was a ban on this the Chinese import. So they could find out there is an opportunity. Yes, the farmers are looking for fertilizers, and the fertilizers are not available because they are walking in the water bodies. They know the farmers are nearby and what are the requirement. And they all in a sudden they pivot, and the same algae and other bacteria they started using for biofertilizers and start connecting to the same farmers who are nearby. So a complete business model was set. Previously, they are trying to target the bigger companies who are actually polluting the water bodies. Right now, for the companies, manufacturing companies, they are shifted to the farmers and started distributing the biofertilizer, which is all technology. Everything was available. The connection need to be there with the farmers and provided the product and the chemical fertilizers, and they started proving that our fertilizers are better. Within a short period of time, within the last 6, 7, 8 months, I think they became a company which is right now providing a huge quantity of biofertilizer to the farmers at this point of time. So I believe this is all about how you connect, how you can look into this opportunity.
Yeah, sorry, go on, please.
Yeah, I think there are so many such stories are there where people have seen this as an opportunity and pivot their ideas. Again, I work with one more startup which is into the EdTech startup, which is into this type of 3D image and other thing. So we thought that during pandemic, people will love to come out and start reading it out, but they couldn't get success at that point of time because they created various types of content, and those are all 3-dimensional. So if you go and touch them, though, they can show that how the heart is pumping, how the blood is moving, and all those stuff. But the whole content was so heavy, it was very difficult for us to give it to the school kids and other, or the connection we couldn't map with the school kids at that point of time, how they can actually use this particular type of content which is being developed. So though pandemic has created an opportunity for online education, but again, we got failure in that particular type of business idea. So it all depends how effectively you understand what the customers, and I think that's the main impact is that, as the ma'am is saying, it's all about customer. Rework on your plan and look for this opportunity. I think that's the way we can get more success in the
market. That's very interesting. So you gave both the examples, taking off from a company which did rework as Mrs. Kirloskar was saying, and they came through. But I think then we are looking at another critical factor that happens to come out from that failure story. And I would like to request Mrs. Kirloskar to have some views on that, which is, I think, ma'am, what we heard was just pivoting and reworking. That's one part. But I think looking at a 360-degree view in terms of where you are, what you can do, and so on, the logistics of it, distribution, etc. I think that's also something that one will have to look at, right? Mrs. Kirloskar, how does one look at it?
Yeah. So, I think if you're already a company who started business, then you may want to use this time for doing all your other mapping activities. You're building up your teams and all the learning and education that you wanted to do initially, you do now. Because now's the time you have, because you can't enter any market. You still have your internet facilities. You just swap your timing, So you were first going to do some work and then do the learning and training. You do that first right now. And now you had enough time right now to do all that training, because once the market opens up, you're absolutely ready to go. However, you need to also look for channel partners in every area. Areas that you can't reach, this will be a good time for you to see who are the other people who are there. Can you partner with some of them? So I think small cases like this, where you don't have to do everything on your own. So you don't have to do everything on your own. You try and find synergies between other companies and piggyback with each other for that journey. So I think that journey, and the fact is that these markets all of a sudden opened up and again all of a sudden closed. So you certainly need to find and have small tie-ups with channel partners.
Okay, interesting. So effectively, what we are saying, Mrs. Kirloskar, is this entire distribution strategy, reaching out. In your earlier comment, you mentioned the importance of being online, a tech strategy where even mid and large companies, where in that sense, treating online maybe promotions, marketing, distribution as an optional add-on, and that become like a critical success factor. Just to have a follow on to that, are you really saying you are part of a large business group and you're seeing the entire community, right, from SMEs who might be supplying to you and startups with whom you work with? So you've seen the entire segment. Are you really seeing post-pandemic the importance of technology, people adopting, and because that creates opportunity for a lot of the startups who might be here right now. A lot of them have companies which build portals, techs, or small applications. They may not be large SaaS companies. And do you think organizations of the size of yours or across have taken it seriously? And is there opportunity there?
Absolutely. Because the fact is, we are a tech-heavy company, right? So we use a lot of IT infrastructure. So the pandemic affected us to a certain extent. We were already online. We were already doing many things. But there are several companies who have found this huge gap. And that's where these small companies can very quickly pivot their business to getting in and working with larger companies. So the only one thing you have to be mindful when small companies work with large companies is the information and the data that they get. People are scared to share all this with them because these people are not very careful with that data. Now that data has taken them years and years to build, and you can't be frivolous about it. So what happens is large companies have a very watertight non-disclosure agreement which is signed. And many small companies feel, oh, we are being stifled, but they are not seeing that this is an opportunity of a lifetime where they can get to work with one of these large companies. It's a huge learning experience. It's enormously, because the fact is, you learn the most from your clients. Your software gets better and better as your clients need more and more developments on that software. So many times you imagine a software and you put it together and you're unable to see the various uses. But the people who are using it say, hey, can you add this? Can you add that? Can you subtract this? Can you rework this? And I think that is where the learning is.
Interesting. I'll come back to that factor of how to deal with larger companies, because significant number of startups would be such that they would want to. So some of the attributes of that will just come to in a while. But again, this part of larger companies having certain needs or mid-sized companies having certain needs and an opportunity there. I wanted to go back to Professor Satya and just check with him that did you see an inflow in terms of incubating companies, ideas, concepts during this last year or so, which validates this, where people were really trying to address certain problems where entrepreneurs alive to this problem? And what did you see basically on the ground happening?
Yeah, ground, I think I just have one take here, that how effectively the incubation systems, I think we are right now having so many incubators across various parts of India from the typically academic setup that we are doing. So I believe that the point academic or these incubators have a close link with the industry, then they can bring the right set of questions that the industry is having at this point of time. Obviously, small and medium enterprises have substantial amount of issues, and that can be solved by the startup community at this point of time. So as ma'am says, I think they've dreamed that this is the way the problem can be solved, but when you try to implement and find out there are no ticker for it. So I think if in an incubation system we can reverse that, we can guide the right type of problem statement which the industry is facing, and then we can have the students or others who are already inside this industry and try to solve it. I think that connection is actually giving result. From my understanding at this point of time, we are right now want to focus more about the alumni or the people already passed out and already worked inside the industry, having some understanding about the industry problems, and then coming out with the solutions. I think that group is getting substantial more success at this point of time. So I believe to what extent your requirements are there in the industry and the incubation setup is going to support in terms of a knowledge or in terms of the expertise that can just fine tune their ideas. I think that's the type of startup we are getting more success in the market.
Okay, and a follow-on to that is were there companies during the last 1 year, or are you seeing some traction now? If you got some people approaching with startup ideas to incubate companies, where the business plan is to respond to opportunities coming out of the pandemic. Are we seeing some of those things happening on the ground?
Yeah, I think I have a startup currently which is looking for reusable rockets, but may not be not directly from the pandemic right now. But the opportunity is there. ISRO has opened up. I think, again, the point ISRO has opened up and right now looking for private partners to work it out. So from satellite making to reusable rockets with the small launchers which can be there to all drone based, I think everything people are right now looking into. So drone based agriculture, post pandemic, I think there are so many people are currently working. So we are also moving ahead with that particular ideas. In terms of working with the farmer producers company and creating equipment, I think from an asset heavy to asset light, something like that, the companies which the farmer may not buy all those things, things can be procured by the one company, and then they started providing the renting. I think those models are obviously the subscription model that ma'am was talking about. Those models, those startups are actually getting tractions in the market, right?
Yeah, I think that is what Mrs. Kirloskar was also saying. Yeah. That practically, if there's a problem of liquidity, people not having customers not pay, I think price and payment terms becomes the key. In fact, and Professor, yes, I agree that all of this opening up of sectors, defense and space, etc., actually happened as a part of a package.
Yeah,
it was an Atmanirbhar package which came in. So in that fallout of the pandemic, where the government system was thinking on those lines. On the point, Mrs. Kirloskar, that you mentioned, many times, be it investment or, like you said, startups approaching larger companies for business, typically, yes, there is obviously that complex, a large company, and they may have external conditions and so on. And you made a very interesting point that don't look at it from that angle. Look at it from a perspective that a larger company may have some specific needs. They have IPR. They have their own set of customers that they need to deal with and be careful, etc. And try to adjust yourself in that for that protocol and context. So that brings us to a very important point, which in the hustle and bustle of startups gets missed, because startups are used to all, as we call it, jugaad and, being there in the moment, etc. But that brings us to that problem of trust. And how does one look at it, the criticality of the trust factor, so that be it in themselves as entrepreneurs, in their products, in their behavior, and so on. And the importance of that, how does one build that?
You know what I feel that, Professor Satya brought a very relevant point. If institutions are in good connect with industry, I have a solution for this, is that if the institution running the incubation center, one of those people work closely with industry, then what happens is you understand the issues industry is having. Of course, no industry is going to come to you and say, you know what, this is the laundry list of issues we have. Because let's understand, competition is cutthroat. And nobody's here to give you a list of all the problems they have so that others can overtake them. True. So life is too short and you have to be very, very mindful of all these things. So if you have actually worked, those startups who have worked with large industry have already positioned themselves and have already started connecting themselves with the larger industry. But you see what they have forgotten. They feel that at whatever price and at whatever rate, industry is going to absorb these startups and work with them. That's not going to happen. Why? Because like the small companies are hit with the pandemic, so are the larger companies. And what the larger companies are seeing today, that all their loan facilities that they have got, they're making sure their vendors are being paid first. So the person who's actually suffering is the large industry. Now, you need the large industry for help. They're trying to see that all their vendors are paid. And if a startup comes in and tries to make a quick buck from his software, it's not going to work. People are not going to tie it up because A, it's an unknown quantity. B, it's too expensive. So they'll say, okay, let me recruit my own IT facilities. And most of them have programs like SAP and Oracle, which is everything comes for a price. So if your price is going to be higher than SAP and Oracle, you're not going to be chosen. So there's small things you need to be mindful. If you have to enter a market, you have to be price competitive. And that's what I find, that some of them really believe, goodness is not weakness. Goodness is allowing you an opportunity to meet people from industry. But that does not mean that you're the only option they have. There are lots of options they have. So one needs to be mindful of all these things.
Correct. And I think what applies to a B2B kind of product as well applies to a B2C kind of a solution. I mean, the platform on which you're working, something like a Zoom or maybe a Google Meets and so on, I think those were opportunities where they allowed, for example, these were indispensable then. Had they charged a few rupees, even for the first 15 minutes, there was no choice, for example, for us.
Yeah.
I think there are classic cases where there are tons of industries which have. So, Professor Satya, again, from this other side, in terms of the efforts and the importance of this building this trust and imbibing the trust has many forms, of course.
So trust, I think I just have another example of another startup which I was just worked with them at a point of time, but currently not associated with our inclusion system. But the company was into an event tech company. So they started up within the last 3 to 4 years period, and they started operating all what is called online events and online thing. But the type of trust, they started working with various the Vibrant Gujarat event, and also work with the world entrepreneurship event that was organized at Hyderabad, where the PM and I think Ivanka was also there. So they got an opportunity to go to that level. But beyond that level, they captured the whole market during the whole pandemic. All of a sudden, the event company is called Huvilo. So they started getting the customers and they started building trust. And trust is that all big companies can organize event in their platform. So it is a very small company started operating with a startup, but right now big companies are doing their events because all of them would believe that there is no point of holding a physical event if I just have to interact with my customers or interact with prospective buyers. We can all do in internet, and the type of requirement they have, they started providing, and the whole trust that your data is not going out, you are creating a proper interaction with one-to-one interaction. So I think once you start building that trust, companies also believe that, yes, you are doing the right set of solutions, and the company started growing, and they have raised a series of funding right now in US right now. So trust, the type of product that you're offering, agility, and obviously the commitment and the passion. I think these are 2-3 ingredients. If it is there, you can certainly get great success in the market. But for that, you need to understand what is the requirement of the customer and try to build your product according to that. If you come with a product, you believe this is a solution, and the market is not understanding this is a solution, I think explaining them and educating them, I think you will lose most of the time, and then you can find out that within next 2-3 months, 4 months, 6 months, there are no takers, and then you are saying it is dying, or because we don't have that much of cash to continue with an idea for more than 6-8 months at this point of time. So we need to come with a business idea where customer is going to fund your business. If that is there, yes, we are going to get success, and customer is going to fund your business idea if he has trust on your ideas at this point.
Oh, that brings us to a very interesting point where you said that, and this is where, as somebody who's mentoring entrepreneurs, Mrs. Kirloskar, you might be seeing some very interesting entrepreneurs. And Professor Satya gave an example of a company who could, bring it all together and go to market. But you'd be seeing several examples where great entrepreneur, a product where you see there's a promise. But you feel there's something wish that they could be maybe the business plan or this go to market and so on, whereas the promoter describes this as classically as a funding problem, and the promoters come and say, oh, wish I had money, then I whatever, there's the moon, for example. So beyond the product and entrepreneur, how do you look at enterprises, products, and so on? Some of the critical points that you look at, especially in this
Yeah.
context.
I think what is important is the entrepreneur's mindset. That more than him putting together an excellent business plan for that company, because the circumstances, he builds a business plan according to circumstances at that time. Now, these circumstances are fluctuating in the market. So how flexible is his business plan? How flexible is he to taking channel partners? How flexible is he to add things to his technology that will make your product more versatile? And of course, if he's in a very niche area, then he's in such a niche area, he's going to be there anyway. So if he's in defense, if he's in a very specific part of defense, there's no way somebody else can actually even compete with him. But if he's in an area that is not niche, I am going to look at his mindset, his spirit, because there could be some excellent companies, there's money, there's everything, and yet the company goes under. There could be several cases like that. But sometimes even after going under, you come back, you pivot, you join up with someone else, because the fact is, I see that when you're giving a technology, the entire cycle has to be complete. If there are any gaps in the cycle, there's an opportunity for you to get another channel partner who can do that cycle, so that you give an end-to-end solution. The minute you give a solution which is only a fragment of the problem, then that means I need to look for several other people who will join up to complete that issue, the gap. And many times you don't understand the gap very well, and entrepreneurs keep on convincing you why their product is good. Why? You see, what is important is the entrepreneur has made a product from his point of view. He's not putting himself in the shoes of the organization that needs the product.
Correct. That's
I remember when IT started, they used to have lots of the MRPs and ERPs that they'd set up, and they'll come and tell you, you need, I'll give you this wonderful system, you've got to change all your lines. I said, do you even have any idea what you're saying? These are all huge fixed cost conveyor belts we put in. It's really, really expensive. Have you any idea what you're saying? Because it makes no sense. That was very clear that he has never been there on the shop floor to even understand the system. You see, it's one thing to make this very intelligent system. It's another thing to be on the shop floor, to understand how your process works or how it is currently working, to assist someone. So if you want a retrofit, you need someone who understands that system. If I sit here and say, just rework your entire industry, shift everything here, and now with this new workflow, you'll save so much. But what about the money I'm going to spend to shift all this?
True. Yeah.
And sometimes, with old companies, they have old machines. You need to retrofit some things here and there. You can't scrap everything.
True. I think that ear to the ground and getting the hands dirty, on the actual business problem, is something that is a very strong advice that you're giving to people, that you might be expert in your domain, be it tech or whatever it is, but the consumer need. And I want to get this to you, Professor Satya, in terms of as maybe an incubation center or as somebody who's looking at startups day in, day out. How are you seeing things from the other side of the table? Their responsiveness. Are they going on the ground, meeting potential customers, doing that ground level study versus a secondary study on the internet and so on?
I think it's very essential right now, because we are right now moving to a knowledge-based society. So in that case, you need to have your background understanding about this problem that you're solving, and also about what the technological changes and what other things have already happened. So for that reason, the person whosoever is interested to join this startup journey need to have a thorough understanding about conceptual clarity and the type of problem the industry is facing, or less the customer is facing. So if they are coming and ready to analyze this with an open mind, I think there are so many different problems that all of us can solve, and so many different startups all of us can create at this point in time. There is huge amount of problem and across the society. Understand which problem can be solved and which problem the customer is ready to pay a price. So if they can understand these 2 points from the very beginning and why the customer is going to pay them, then obviously we can certainly create more number of startups. So I think that is a complete open up marketplace right now. They can do substantial amount of it.
Yeah, I think from Mrs. Kirloskar and what you said, I think the interesting bit is these 2 components, and there being a problem out there, you being able to solve it, but at the right price and meeting, the customer requirement. That is like the holy grail, obviously, of, startups. And then many times, I guess, startups do not realize that they have to get all of this right. I mean, there's a difference between, I guess, getting all of this right and, trying to, as Mrs. Kirloskar, trying to perfect one of those things. I think that is something that, people generally, they, as she said, the idea they try to is fine tune or perfect a certain solution, a certain feature, which may not be needed. A potential client may be okay with some degree, 80%, 90% accuracy for a lesser price. And are you seeing basically from that perspective of need of the market versus, we'll come to the pricing later, but from this perspective, Mrs. Kirloskar, are you seeing certain industries opening up more than others, especially in this post-pandemic world, where it would be interesting for entrepreneurs to quickly go to market or look at it in the next 6 months, 1 year?
I can see that the distribution sector possible. So everything that's gone beyond manufacturing, that is asset light, knowledge management, as you rightly said. But knowledge management is very tricky, because while it is something that every company needs, they are not going to sit sharing it with you very kindly. So I would say knowledge management, if you've actually worked with these companies and you get the company themselves to fund you and they spin you out. Now that is something that you can hang on to, because that will be an excellent model where companies are saying, you know what, we'll invest in you and we'll spin you out. You are our unit sitting outside. So you don't get worried about our way of thinking. You give me your way of thinking, but in my area.
Oh, that's a very interesting perspective. Would larger enterprises, and coming from own experience, you would appreciate that versus not random, but a connected startups who wants to be on its own and you just put money?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because what happens is now I'm directly connected with the startup.
Yeah, if you can elaborate.
I'm sorry, you said something.
No, I was just saying if you can elaborate on this, that's a very, very interesting point. I mean, hearing this as an enterprise saying this for the first time, what you are saying, basically.
Yeah. See, there are many models, right? Why are we having showcases? I'm doing so many showcases with big industry. And why are they even coming there? They're coming there because they're all looking for something. So what are they looking for? Nobody is going to tell you what they're looking for. It's like looking for gold. They'll not tell you where the gold is, right? So you got to see through those rivers to see where you're going to find that bit of gold. So the issue is, what is this thirst for? The thirst for is to get the right fit. If you get a perfect team and you say, this is the team I'm going to work with, I will now fund this team and they will be my team sitting outside my company. Why outside my company? Because when you are inside the company, the mindset of the company becomes your mindset. And you don't want that mindset. You want this free thinking mindset, which comes only when you're an entrepreneur. In typical organizations, you will find that people need to be chased to work. An entrepreneur never needs to be chased to work. He has the spirit to run. Now, the spirit is something that I will never let it die. That spirit is something you have to nurture. Now, whether a company does well or it doesn't do well, the spirit is something that is inborn. And we all are looking for that spirit. That one spirit that will take everybody with it. It's like a sledge, The person who is actually driving the sledge in front, or the dog that drives the sledge in front, has to be the most focused dog, or the most focused person with energy. And if you follow that, the entire sledge reaches its destination. So for me, more than this great idea, I like the spirit. A burning spirit is what everybody's looking for. A focused and burning spirit.
That's such a lovely, I think in these kind of dark times, I think that's an amazing, it's obviously, I think Professor will agree with me that I think the
100%.
What you said and the way you said it, it's inspired, I think all
it's
of us.
Inspiring for all of us. I think for larger companies, how they are interested in looking this particular bright lights among all the startup community, all the students. I think that's a great thing. I think everybody need to get their focus right with the burning desire that I'm trying to solve this. And at some point of time, you'll certainly find some taker for you. And rather than just trying it out that everybody's trying, I'm also trying, then there is nothing in that. You need to prove that you are doing something different. And in that difference, all of us will certainly get substantial amount of support from all large corporates, mid-sized companies, and government supports and other. I think that is very essential.
Okay.
I have one suggestion. What happens sometimes when you are away from industry, you don't understand the challenges industry has, right? Because you're not there. See, getting a salary month on month is one thing. But getting a salary or getting your perquisites or getting all that only if you do well is quite another story. Because what happens is today industry has actually shed a lot of people. And what has happened is because of the pandemic, there's so many stipulations that you need only 50% of your work staff or 20% of your work staff. You know what's happened? The other 80% has become redundant. So what's happening is the pandemic has taught me that, I can work with much less. Why are we keeping this big baggage? Because with every person, there's a lot of, other than just a salary, there's so many things a person brings with him. Wrong decision making, which is a cost, all kinds of issues, which are costs. So in an industry where, I think in this pandemic, there's going to be lots of unemployment. And I can see only those who have spirit, who are driven people are going to find the jobs. And I think that's where entrepreneurs who are really driven have to keep moving at a pace, at a breakneck speed, and get involved with these companies. They have to make that effort. You see, when somebody keeps knocking on your door many times, you say, hey, let me just look at him because, look at the spirit. There's so many cold calls he's made. We've ignored him, but, he's come back. Let me listen to him. Maybe he has a point. And you just keep, you have to be at it. All these companies have grown because they've been at it. We are a 132-year-old company. And if we were to just sit back, today there's a pandemic, we started the Spanish flu. We've had world wars. All this has happened. There have been shortages of different kinds. When there was a shortage for metal, what they did, they actually took all the old cannons that were lying, melted them and made pumps out of it. So I'm saying one needs to be able to stand up to all this. So it is a spirit of entrepreneurship. Yep. You can't just get up and say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur today. Well, and if you're there just for the money, forget it. Just forget it. You're looking at something beyond money. If you're looking at something beyond money, it'll showcase in your work, it'll showcase in your spirit, it'll showcase in a larger cause. And I'll tell you, that is how nature is going to weed out the good from the mediocre.
That's great. I just want to add some points. I think for me, entrepreneurship, again, it's more of an academic perspective. Since being in faculty, I need to bring this angle back to this whole thing. What I believe entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial behavior is very essential. It's not just an entrepreneur, it's about the entrepreneurial behavior. This behavior is all about problem solving, initiative, and all those stuff. So whether you are working inside a company as an employee or you are ready to start something, everywhere you can behave entrepreneurially. I think we need to prioritize this entrepreneurial behavior. So what happened to our society that we have forced everybody to behave normally? I think that's as something differently. I say is there is an entrepreneurial behavior and there is a normal behavior. We force all our family, friends, and everybody in a school, wherever we are teaching, that please behave normally. Normally is the mediocre behavior. Normality is that behave whatever is an average standard which is required. The point will force everybody to behave entrepreneurially. I think we'll get employees, we'll do fabulous work, we'll get entrepreneurs who are able to solve newer set of problem. We'll get politicians try to solve the problem in a larger. I think that behavior can be showcased across the society, and certainly we'll get substantial more impact out of it.
I'd really like to add to that. I could not agree more with you, Professor. I will tell you something that, when you are looking for entrepreneurs, you're saying that, you come to school in India and you're put in a box.
Yeah.
You're never allowed to ask questions. So
yes.
Students who ask questions are actually punished.
Yeah.
And I feel you are made to learn things by rote. The advantage is, yes, Indian students can do very good in exams, but Indian students are very bad in application. Okay. And it is our fault. It's our fault. We put them in a box. And then after 30 years, you say, now think out of the box. Now tell me, how difficult is that? That you train a mind which is actually free-flowing, and then you contain it, and after it's contained and harnessed, you say, hey, you should have not been here, you should have been somewhere else. Yeah. So it is our fault. And I feel, but there is still time for us to change. We need to bring this down to schools and make them do fun projects. And in the funness, in their interest, we will find this kind of, these students that are really willing to go that extra mile. And as you rightly said, you can be an entrepreneur by spirit, irrespective of where you are. You can be in a company and give amazing suggestions like they call intrapreneurs. We are not all cut out to start a business, raise money, go run and do this. We're not cut out, and nobody's asked us to do that.
Yeah.
You can come into an entrepreneur incubation center because you are an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur in a large company, but you know what? You want to create a separate team that is doing it, and the company is funding you. You're sitting in an incubator, you're getting help from professors like Professor Satya, and you can run the last mile. Believe me, it's absolutely possible. We need to think out of the box. We need to be able to say, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to achieve. My professor is going to work with me, and I am now going to work with an industry, and you can go the distance.
Yes.
I think, really lost for words with the kind of inspiration that we are getting, because, on many of these occasions and the panel discussion, one doesn't get, what can you say, the between the lines stuff. As you rightly said, nobody's going to come and tell you where the gold is. But I think, ma'am and Professor, I think we're very close to you, at least you pointing out to where the gold is. I think in terms of this, this point, where I think everybody listening to this needs to understand sometimes how overrated presentations, business plans, Excel sheets are, versus you can present a whole bit of stuff, and the person on the other end, be it a large industry, a VC fund, an angel investor, is looking at you as per interaction and saying, what if all of this goes to the dogs? All of this Excel. Can this guy, as ma'am you said, can this fellow still stand up? Because nobody can predict the environment, and pandemic is a part of it.
Yes.
So, and that example that you said of cannons melting, and that's, something like that. Things are going to keep happening. So lovely, lovely example and message to kind of start concluding this round with. I can see Dr. Palkar there. Dr. Palkar, would you like to come in as somebody associated with this, running an incubation center, a linkages center? Some comments from you would be welcome, ma'am. And having this panel together and letting us spend this lovely morning interacting and thank you so much for that.
I know I've been speaking since yesterday, so I thought let me not interrupt in the panel and be a listener, patient listener. I was more keen to have an interface of all of you with the I2E competitors and the Pitch Fest competitors. It's, with the kind of time that we get from all of you as panelists, we want to get the maximum from all of you. That is my endeavor. So if you allow me to start that activity, then probably we could quickly look at least a few where you all could have some intervention till 11:30, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's okay with me, Dr. Palkar. I will leave at 11:30, so I will leave quietly. You can just continue with the program.
Yeah, sure.
So we start it, and the minute my time's up, I will leave, if that's fine with you.
Yeah, perfectly fine. With the permission of Vinita, I'm going ahead.
Yes, please.
So I'm inviting, so now there are multiple teams here. So we had 3 different competitions this year. One was the Innovation to Enterprise competition, which was purely an ideation competition for colleges, where we had 200 teams that entered. The second one which we did was a hackathon, which was based on the problem statements given by a few companies and PCMC. And the third that we conducted was a pitch fest, which was purely from the perspective of getting startups in the incubation center. So I'm doing a little mix and match and getting everyone, but I just mentioned that they're from the ideation side, or they are from the pitch side, or from the hackathon side. This was not typically the hackathon that we generally do 48 hours on coding, etc. Again, there was a problem statement and they had to solve the problem. We've given a window of about 2 weeks for them to solve this. So if I can have the team of Quench Ed activity-based learning, are you there, the team? If the team is there, please come straight online.
Yes, ma'am, we are here.
And we would like you to make a pitch in quick 2 minutes about your idea. Therefore,
yes, ma'am.
Quickly.
Yes. So, ma'am, we are Quench. So, it is an activity-based learning platform. Our target market is students from age group 6 to 10. Our primary benefit is we want to help students to develop their aptitude and interest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, that is STEM, by giving them a hands-on experience of concept they learn in school through experimentation at home. So what makes us unique is we offer project kits, so the students can develop their interest and knowledge and can be applied in a direction. So kits will be dispatched as a monthly subscription model, and where they can learn, and there will be a application which will be provided so that they can discuss different ideas on that platform or solve their doubts, and different discussion forums will be also available. Yes, that's from my side. Thank you.
Before the next panel comes, I just want to thank formally both the panel members because I missed it at the end of the year. So thank you so much, Mrs. Kirloskar and Professor Acha.
So any questions for them? So how did, I mean, if you have, otherwise we will continue and we need to continue.
Yeah.
This team?
No, I think we'll go to the next pitch, I think.
Okay, advanced magnetic field detector. Are you there, the team? Advanced magnetic field.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. We are here. Yeah. Just a second. Okay, we are not able to share the screen. Okay, what basically we did is
So we
the problem.
don't want any presentation, quick 2
Okay. There was a photo I want to share. The problem is we are solving the unwanted electrocutions which our Indian electricians are getting. If we check the fact, we see that in one day around 30 electricians die in India due to electrocutions. There are 30 deaths per day in India due to electrocutions. Now, how this problem evolves is because we use a tester to detect if there's a phase in the line or not. So the tester actually is not a standard device to check the phase, because if there's a small short in between there, you can be electrocuted because the whole current will be flowing through your body to the ground. Okay, you are touching the phase directly with the tester. So what America or UK did is they made EMF meters, that is called as electromagnetic field detectors, wherein they can wirelessly detect if the given wire contains current or not, wirelessly without touching the wire, even without removing the insulation. Wirelessly they can detect. So that EMF meter currently has been developed in UK or US, and it costs around 4,000 rupees in India. Okay, so no normal electrician will buy it, of course, because no one will spend that much amount. 4,000 rupees is average salary here for an electrician. So what we did is we have developed our own EMF meter. Now here you can see this is the engineered prototype. Currently only one LED is glowing. Now I will take this towards my electricity board, and you can see the LED start to blink. Now when I take it away, the blinking stops. When I take it near to the board, the blinking starts. Now this, we have patented this in last year only, and it also has an potential to show the amount of current flowing through the wires also. You can connect this to your computer and you get a EMF plotter, exact EMF plotter, which costs around 10 to 12,000 in the Indian market right now. We can provide that in just 600 rupees. And yes, this is patented, ma'am. And we also now have gone with MSCB for developing this prototype. Now this is a big, actually, what they say is, can you do this in a small scale so that we can carry it everywhere with a toolbox? Now we have developed this. This is a small chip, so this thing can be done with this chip, and we can use it anywhere, ma'am. So this is our idea in short. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
We go to the next one. Prachi Pingre, PCMC Health. Prachi, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So, hello, I hope you're all having a good day. Our topic is city cleanliness detection using Geotag street images. So this project will tackle the problem of the collection and disposal of e-waste. The solution is not only limited to e-waste, but is applicable to almost any kind of waste that you can think of.
is farmers and warehouse owners. The primary benefits that will give is rescue from the heavy, hectic, and non-economical and dangerous methods of other kinds of all kinds of spraying. Yes, ma'am.
Good. We go to Pratiksha Thorat, PCMC, problem statement. Pratiksha.
Hello,
Pratiksha.
am I audible?
Yeah, who's that?
Ma'am, I'm Pratiksha's partner.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so basically our idea is to data monitoring using IoT system. Our project should be able to collect data for quality present in the environment. It should automatically create a data set from their data that we are getting. Like if we are talking about the solution, then the government can issue a environment auditing to highly polluting industries. Companies can optimize different part of the operation to save energy, which will reduce the facilities overall emission. Government can create a new pollution audit also for the companies that are polluting gases more than the beyond level. So basically our idea is to safeguard the general public health from pollution. Like the model we provide, associate, economical, as well as our product, as well as prototype is of very low cost. As we all are aware, there are various models out there in the market which can cover a wide range to detect air quality. But since our project is of low cost, like its price range is from 1000 to 1500, so it will cover a short range, but it can cover it can give you the data like what gases are present in atmosphere at what quantity, and the temperature as well as its humidity. It can detect a wider range of physical parameters, including temperature, humidity, and carbon dioxide. These sensors have long life as well as its price is less. The quality of air can be checked indoor as well as outdoor. So the sensors are very easily available and it's pretty easy to handle. This project just provides a combination of process of sensing several gas levels in the air and also the ambient temperature and humidity, thus sensing the quality of air. Thank you.
Okay. So we go to Pitch Fest, a few of the people from the Pitch Fest. Ashaya team, are you there? Ashaya team. Right. Ashaya team is not there. Okay. From the Pitch Fest side, Pitch Fest. Asha is there. Asha, please come. Ashaya team, Pitch Fest.
Yes. Hi, thanks for having us. So we're Ashaya, and I'm the founder of Ashaya. And we're a waste to wealth solution. As you guys know, waste in India is a complex problem, and there are two key aspects of the waste problem in India that are appealing to us. One is that 81% of all waste in India is untreated, and about half of all waste generated in India gets dumped into landfills. At the same time, you have about 1.5 million waste pickers that live very multidimensionally poor lives. So taking this problem into consideration, Ashaya is a social enterprise that wants to increase the value of waste through scientific and technological innovations, and then redistribute this increased value to those stakeholders that are exploited, the waste pickers and the kabadiwalas. We're starting off with plastic waste, and we're converting a low value plastic waste such as multi-layered plastic and polycotton into high quality 3D printing filament that we want to use to print final consumer goods. We've gotten early breakthroughs on separating multi-layered packaging into its constituent layers, which we're very excited about. But we're very early in this game. We just started like 3 or 4 months ago, so we have a lot to figure out, a long way to go. But yeah, and that's what we're trying to solve, and we're really excited about it.
Great, good. So we have now Abhishek who wants to come in. He's from the plant residue extraction team. He wants to be unmuted, so we can allow Akshay to come in. Abhishek to come in. Akshay, please allow me.
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. Do you know that Delhi has remained shut down for 2 days in 2019? And the only reason for that is air pollution. Air pollution has reached recorded levels due to farm fires from neighboring states like Punjab and Haryana. And the residue generated from the plant is not going to using they are not using that for the useful product, just burning that in open field. So to solve this problem, we have come up with a innovative solution which will pull out the plant stock along with roots from the soil and convert it into the powder form, which will further will be used for the convert into the useful product. India has generated around 15 million tons of the cotton crop residue in 1 year. So we can see the huge demand of this product. So our innovative is that we are pulling out the cotton stock along with roots, and such system is not currently available in market. And by using this system, we are also removing the stains of the paste from the remaining field. So this is our innovative product, and by using this product, we will giving the financial support to farmers by purchasing their crop residue, and it is our innovative step toward the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. Thank you.
Great. So we have now we're calling in fuel theft detection system. Fuel theft detection system. Yes. Go ahead.
Unmute.
We can't hear you. Fuel theft detection system team, please. We'll come back to you because we're not able to hear you. So we'll come back to you in a little while. When you're ready, just text me your voice, just test your voice. We have the next team from Pimpri Chinchwad College of Engineering, I2E, modular brick made by SCBA and CND waste. Are you there? Pimpri Chinchwad College of Engineering, modular.
Yes, ma'am.
Please go ahead.
You want to build your home in a less investment, then use modular bricks and save your construction cost up to 20%. So basically, sugarcane bagasse ash is a waste from industry having cementitious property, and also CND waste. We can also CND waste, we can see it is dumped in the open land. So we thought of to combine this both, and the modular brick has invented, and we named it as an ecological brick. So speciality of this brick is it's eco-friendly as it is made by waste products, and its strength is more than the conventional bricks available in the market. It's almost a 15 MPa, which is greater than the IS code even mentioned. And also it is cheaper in cost, only 5 rupees, as other bricks available in the market are of 7 rupees and 8 rupees per brick. And I think it is the best suited product in the Indian market as it's cheaper in cost and greater in strength. Also, we are targeting the local contractors, those who make green buildings, as it comes under the green material, and also they can get the 5-star rating for using the green material for the building. And we will be presenting our product in Builders Association of India and Pune Research Construction Foundation, where they pivot these ideas to startups. And also we have a patentship for this. And thank you.
Great. So we would now call upon IoT-based farm field monitoring system. IoT-based farm field monitoring system of Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, VIT. Are you there, the team? So this is the last call for this team, IoT-based farm field monitoring system. If you're not there, we go to the next team. Absent, the team is absent.
Hello.
Are you there?
Yeah, ma'am. I'm from Fuel Theft Detection System.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm audible.
Yeah. Fuel detection system. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. I'm from Azimuth Enterprises, and our product is Fuel Theft Detection System. So our motto is your fuel, keep it to yourself. And why fuel theft is a global problem. And we came across this news article that Bhatinda police have confiscated around 32 barrels of petrol, 12 barrels of diesel, and 2 barrels of engine oil in one case. And we came across this problem statement that fuel theft is occurring while transportation of fuel through the fuel tankers. So our problem statement is, if the fuel cap is not opened while transportation, then fuel theft will reduce, or it can be avoided. And so we are implementing. So this is our model, and we are implementing a sensor inside the fuel cap itself. So as you can see, we have implemented a laser and a photoregister, and when the fuel cap is removed, such that then the circuit will be triggered, and an SMS alert will be sent to the and an SMS alert will be sent to the owner of the vehicle, and thus he can be alerted, and he can immediately call the driver or the authority there. And also we are implementing a camera, strategically placed camera, so that the thief can also be identified using this. And our target markets are OEMs of heavy vehicles and fuel tankers. We are also aiming to achieve few of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And I would like to conclude by saying that every drop counts. Thank you.
Good, good. So we go to advanced liquid dispensers for the blinds. Advanced liquid dispenser for the blinds. This is by Dr. D.Y. Patil, Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences. Please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, we are here. Good morning. So our project is advanced liquid dispenser for the blind, geriatrics, and Parkinson patients. Blindness have been an issue since the beginning of time, and with the various changing in lifestyle, we have been witnessing other geriatric diseases, as well as many Parkinson patients have been detected in the past few years. So to target that, as a pharmacist, and we have visited few nursing homes, we have witnessed the problems that the blind people as well as the Parkinson people face while administering, especially liquid medications. So for that, we came up with our liquid dispenser for the blind. It is a fully automated dispenser through which we have sensors from both the sides that detect the presence of the blind person. As soon as it detects the presence of the blind person, a buzzer sound will take place. After that, as we know that every liquid medication should be shaken before use, we have kept agitators, automatic agitators, and then the medication will be dispensed to the patient, and then he has to take it directly. In our project, we are targeting, of course, all age groups, blindness of all age groups, as well as geriatrics that are from the old group and the Parkinson patients. We promote safe administration of the drug, because if a drug is taken in a less quantity, its therapeutic effect will be less. And if it is taken in a huge quantity, then it might result into toxic dose. Apart from that, if we take from the mental health point of view of the patients, we can see that they suffer from dependence, and as we can see that if we can make a person feel independent in their own shell, so that will also, we are also targeting their mental health as well. Plus caretakers can be avoided, like some have special caretakers just to dispense their medication for the patients. So for that also, we will help our customers with that. Not only that, we have a software app installed.
2 minutes are over. 2 minutes are
Okay.
done. So,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Can we go to now Pitch Fest, one more team which is ready. That is TASVI, that is Hire a Photographer. That's the team title of the project. Can we have, I guess it is Rajat, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Rajat.
Yeah, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so what is TASVI? TASVI is actually a platform which aggregates all the photographers, not just professional photographers, but local photographers. You are focusing to aggregate all the local photographers of every different kind, like the photo shoot for pre-wedding, which is in trend right now, and the portrait photographs for the models who want to build their portfolio. And the third is the commercial photographers for the product photo shoot, like for a restaurant or a beauty parlor and all. So we mainly focus on aggregating all the photographers on our platform and provide the customers the photographer they need. And we have started to build the whole wireframe also of our website. As you can see, this is the logo of Tasveer. Sorry, I couldn't show you the prototype as I have connected to my laptop. Sorry for that. And what is the pricing model? The customer will be free of charge on our platform. Just the photographers will have to pay the membership charge, which will be around the 1,000 rupees for 6 months. So the whole revenue, the profit we will get from that will be mainly focused on the development of the website and the app, which we are making, which is under the beta construction. So our main focus is to aggregate all the photographers. Like yesterday night, I met a photographer who was also dealing with this problem, who couldn't find the clients or who couldn't find the main customers he wanted. So this is a problem presently for all the photographers. And the strength we have is like we are the first mover in this field. There is no competitor presently who has a proper website and an app for that. And what is the weakness? Weakness is to register more and more photographers, but we are making it as a, we are also working it to meet face to face and have conferences with all the photographers to make them register on our platform.
2 minutes, I think.
Yeah, ma'am. So thank you, ma'am.
To say. Okay, so we go to, again, we go back to I2E, Darpan, a reflection of your lifestyle. This is MKSSS's Banu Ben Nanavati College of Architecture for Women. Are you there, Darpan? Team Darpan.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So we are. Am I audible?
Yes. Go ahead.
So we are at the start of summer, and we can already feel the heat, at this point of movement, and there we actually come in the picture. So basically, our problem statement is use of high carbon footprint materials in the construction industry, and our motto is to provide a comfort to our clients. And the comfort means when it's hot there outside, you feel cool inside your spaces, your home or office spaces, and when it's cold outside, you feel the warmth inside your spaces. So we have come up with a product which is a floor tile, and along with that we have a range of products which are wall finishes and floor finishes, which actually keeps the environment cool inside, or you can say comfortable inside for someone to someone to live. And also, so basically, we are using the range of materials, which are raw materials, which are harvested from nature in its raw form, and we are not going to process them. So this is the reason our products are going to be of low carbon footprint. So we are actually solving both the problems. First is the comfort to the client, which will be given in the form of the product which we are offering them, and second is we are also taking care of the nature, because we are not releasing the greenhouse gases by avoiding the number of processes those are done in the industry. And also this product will be available to the users for a very affordable price. We can say it's a premium affordable product, and it will give the beauty and seamless finish, which will actually make your space look very unique and different from any other mundane
I
houses.
think you finished your 2 minutes. Now we go, yeah, we finished your 2 minutes. You have your other data. We will look through that. We'll go to Siddharth Gupta, IoT-based farm field monitoring system. Siddharth.
Yeah, hello, good morning, one and all. My name is Siddharth Gupta. We are presenting IoT-based farm field monitoring system. So, so the idea is that the system will provide the field monitoring system for the farmers, which can monitor the condition of the soil and the pesticide needed in the farm. And if the water goes above a certain level, then it will store that water in some particular area so they can be used for the further purpose. And all this system is a surveillance system that is monitored by using a camera. And if something goes wrong, then it is IoT based, so it will continuously get alert whenever the farmer gets to know about it. And it is completely remote based system, so farmer can be monitored from anywhere in the world. And it is also cost effective. We are providing this system between 7 to 10,000 that will provide the various version according to the farmer, and this will increase their productivity, and they can easily monitor, and it can save the pesticides, water, and their field work. So all the system is completely autonomous that can be work for the farmer. So this is our product that can help to enhance their productivity of our country's farmers. Thank you.
We go to the next one. 1119. Which fest? 1119. Which fest? 1119.
Hello, good morning all. Sujit here from Transfigure Technologies Private Limited. Idea is about related to lost and found. Suppose you are traveling from location A to B and you come to know that you lost something. What you have to do? You have to come back for lost item, search it. If it is found, it is okay. If you didn't find it, you have to buy a new one, which is waste your money and time. Okay, that also indirectly impact your further plan or process. So what we are doing here, we are planning to build a centralized system where users can put their report over there, search it and claim it. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Great. So we've had 1119. Now we will go back to I2E. Technology enabled water governance and accounting for enhanced climate resilient agriculture. KK Wag, I don't know whether you're there, Nasik.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, we are there.
Great. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Rishabh from Team Ekatwam, and we are working to solve and optimize and conserve one of the most precious resource, that is water. We all are aware about the looming water crisis in our country, and that there's an increasing gap between the supply and demand. And we believe that we have an effective solution that can bridge this gap, that is named as Midas. In the age of farmer-centric solution like precision agriculture, we often fail to realize that water being a shared resource, it needs to be managed together. And there we see that very few village community actually coming together to manage water. But there are various initiatives led by CSR and NGOs and government that are helping the village community to manage water, but they're not sustainable in nature. And one of the main reasons behind that is that the information and decision making is highly centralized in nature. And that is where we come into place, wherein we have a solution that can enable and strengthen such initiative to impact the various village community and to create a culture of community participation in water management. Midas is a multi-stakeholder water governance platform that enables data collection using remote sensing technology. We then convert this data into analytics and provide simulation maps and graphs for various stakeholders to view. And then we provide village-specific advisories to enable a bottom-up planning process. We have two kinds of dashboard, wherein we have a web dashboard for the authorities to view and take decisions, and we have the mobile dashboard for the village community to know the status of water availability in their village. Our market strategy is a B2B and B2G, wherein we target the B2B market by targeting NGOs and CSRs, and we target the B2G by targeting the various initiatives around water like Jal Jeevan Mission, Atal Bhujal Yojana, etc. Our entire model is SaaS-based model. Therefore, we look at a SaaS-based pricing, wherein we have a license-based cost every year that we take from our customers, which are NGO, CSR, and government initiative, and also we add certain value-added services that is based which is costed on a value-added costing. We have currently piloted a solution along with various stakeholders, and we have a prototype ready, which we plan to grow it and scale it to various other villages and impact and create a culture of water management in the village community. Thank you for giving us the time, and yeah, thank you.
Okay, I guess we are almost reaching towards the end of this pitch round. We will have time for just one more to come in. If manufacturing of paper using aquatic weed, this is SSP Mandal's Chandmal Tarachan Bora College, Shirur. Are you there? Yes, please go ahead. Last one, and the rest will take in the next round.
I'm audible, ma'am.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I'm audible, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm Pratiksha Jadhav. Our project title is Manufacturing of Paper Using Aquatic Weed, Ecornia crassiv, MARS. So our problem statement is deforestation due to paper manufacturing. Paper manufacturing use many trees, like approximately 80,000 to 160,000 trees cut down daily worldwide, according to Global Forest Resource Assessment. And the another problem is water pollution. So the idea is manufacturing of paper using aquatic weed, Ecornia. Why Ecornia is used? Because Ecornia is the free-floating aquatic weed. It is fast-growing and pollution indicator. It can be cultivated from polluted water, or it can be cultivated in wastewater. So it can provide pollution-free and recyclable or biodegradable non-woody paper to the society. Thank you, ma'am.
Great. So we come to the end of this session. We still have more to go. And I guess we will be doing the rest of you between 3 to 3:30. That's the time span. The rest of you will have to come online. And those who would be in the university can do the pitch here directly on the stage where I'm sitting. We go to the next panel discussion. Let me tell you all the participants here that the panel discussions since yesterday, the keynote speakers that we have called are all meant for everyone in the ecosystem. More number of questions from your end help us understand your seriousness on the startups. So please post in as many questions as possible for us to understand where you stand and how do you gain from this particular Innofest summit. Your questions are welcome on the chat box. You can send in the questions to us if you are directly on the on our YouTube channel. We are happy to look at all your questions. So we go to the next panel. This panel is a very interesting and a very important panel. And I'm sure everyone who gets into startup ecosystem, there's only one question that I've had in the incubation center as well. That one question that ponders everyone and haunts everyone is, will I get money for my startup? Anyone who comes to my office, the first question is, madam, will I get the seed money? How much money can the incubation center give me? So let me tell you, things have changed quite a bit post-pandemic. Investors are also scouting for right kind of startups. They're looking for startups that have, I'm sure yesterday we have heard a lot of speakers say that innovation is the key. There are many other factors that need to be looked into. Investors today are looking at off-beat areas. There have been investments that have come into areas of which were unknown last year, generally and specifically speaking. Insurance tech is a new area which has come up. Medical entertainment tech is another area which has come up. Healthcare and health tech, telemedicines. These are the new emerging areas which one had not estimated some time back. But suddenly they're taking front seat. We've seen yesterday, I did make a mention of the fact that the biggest bidder in this particular case has been EduTech, with Byju's taking a big pie. this year and making big news. I was very shocked and surprised to see his name also appear in the top 10 wealthy Indians. So that's been the trajectory and the growth of startups that we've just seen in front of our eyes. So we have this beautiful panel today where we have Saurabh Lahoti, who is the managing partner, and I'm sure this is the first fund that came into Pune city and has been the talk of the town for quite some time. A very, very young, vibrant Saurabh that we have with us today. We have Sudhanshu Srivastav. Sudhanshu is an advisor on VC funds, and he will be speaking to us from the perspective of his advice on what's really happening in the space. We have a third panelist with us, who is Vivek. Vivek Sadare is the founder of Ecological, happens to be an advisor to the university system, and we're very fortunate that he has just been inducted as the member on our research board from the IP side and a nominee from governor to the university. Vivek is with us. And this whole panel will be moderated by CA Prajakta Shetty-Dev. She's partner with Positive Capital Advisors, and she will be moderating this panel. Prajakta, you have 1 full hour with you, and just lead the panel the way you want.
Right.
All up to you, Prajakta.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Dr. Parlkar, for this opportunity and for putting up such a rich panel, is what I would say. So it is up to the participants now to take full benefit of the panel that we have with us here today. Of course, I'll be leading them through some questions, but more questions are invited from the participants on the chat box so that we can make this as interactive as possible. So yes, the topic for the session is the investor perspective, especially post-pandemic. Now, I was just looking at some data, and I realized that even in 2020, even though we were talking about the pandemic as such, we have, just to get some quick numbers in, there has been 9.3 USD billion, which has been invested in startups in India through 1,088 rounds. Now, of course, we have heard about Byju's, Geotag Junior, Zomato, and all the big ones. But these big ones, 100 million plus deals, were only 24. About 80% of the deals have been in seed and pre-series A rounds, which means that everyone has been getting money. It's not that only the big ones who have been getting away with all the money in the last year. So before we go into what has actually changed, I would like to start this discussion, open this discussion to all 3 of our esteemed panelists with what actually has not changed. What actually is it that as investors, you look in founders or in the idea which does not change, come pandemic or not? Because that would give an insight to the audience in what is it that they should keep doing irrespective of the circumstances. Over to you, Sudhanshuji.
Actually, if you are okay, Prajakta, this is something I would have Saurabh comment on, because he probably goes through about 300 deals before he evaluates and selects one of them. And I will obviously chime in once he adds something. And I believe that there's certain hygiene and discipline and thesis of every fund. And he can talk about some of the common ones. I think he'll be able to add more value to this question.
Great. Sure. Saurabh, would you like to come in?
Yes, absolutely. And thanks to Anshu for putting me on spot on this one. But no, happy to respond. I think what you have asked is quite interesting and relevant. See, fundamentally, investors have continued to bet on great founders with great vision and great execution rigor. I think that hasn't changed. And that is very unlikely to change in future, whether pandemic or not, right? I think investors really love founders who are passionate about a problem statement of the customer and doing everything to solve their customers' problem, whether they are consumer-centric problems or whether they are a business-centric problem. That really hasn't changed. So like in real estate, people say that it's all about location, location, location. In venture capital, it's all about team, team, team. So I think all conversation starts with team. People who are coming with certain experience, certain background, who have delivered certain kind of skill set where they have either scaled a venture or have been part of a corporate where they have built a business, or they bring certain expertise to the table, which is very relevant for the business. But said that, that is not a qualifying criteria. Investors also back very young founders who come with possibly no experience at all, but they are able to showcase that they have great hustling skills. They can do more than what a seasoned professional with 10 to 20 years of experience can do. I think they can do more within a short period of time, within very limited resources, and they have done that, right? I mean, we see young guys coming from college, from their first year itself, they have been kind of tinkering with technologies, tinkering with new ideas, started building new concepts, new ideas. I think this is what kind of investors really love. So I think that is one piece. The other piece is also kind of a well-rounded team. It is not the case that investors only back companies which have multiple founders, but it really helps, right? I think when you are starting a journey, you might have certain skill set. You could be a technology founder, or you could be someone who understands sales and marketing, or you could be someone who understands operations. Try to build a good team around it. I think it's very, very important, building a team, and make sure that you are able to attract your friends, colleagues, co-workers from different areas, and try to sell that vision to them and see if you could build a very, very strong team around it. So I think that is, to me, is a very starting point. The second piece is that once you have a team, I think you need to make sure that you are solving someone's problem, right? I think that is a important point of starting a business. It's not about kind of, people use and abuse this word of platform, that I'm going to build a platform. But what is the purpose of a platform, and whose problem you're solving through that platform?
Right.
Try to stay away from these jargons and make sure that you understand your customer and solving someone's problem. I think if you have these two ingredients in place, I think you have a great start. I think then it's all about execution. But I think if you are looking to raise capital, in my mind, I think that is a very good start. A lot of things that we talked about, but I think that is something that I personally really value.
Yeah, great. Really some important points in terms of being a hustler to begin with, having a good team, and then of course a problem to solve. So basically when you're talking about, having the team, or about the platform, the technology that you're putting in, I would like Vivek also to come in here with what are hygiene factors that a startup needs to look at, that the founders need to look at before they are going in for an investment round.
Yeah, thanks, Prajakta, and thanks everyone. Good afternoon. Absolutely pleasure. This is the third year in running. So, Palkar Madam, congratulations for what you set it up for. Many things start, but they stop, but this continues. So, congratulations. The Prajakta, to your question, I think the hygiene is extremely important. And let me, and without being a general comment, if we look at where exactly is the money and where exactly is the excitement and the success is in the US. And what is the reason why many of these companies in a year or two become unicorns, get funding, which is, someone was talking to me very senior yesterday, connected with Ty and everyone. And he was saying that, look, the 50 mil rounds are so regular and so many of them you hear. But here in India, when we have a 50 million, it's like a celebration. It's like a big deal, which it is. And the reason is because the hygiene is neglected many a times. And when there's a Swachh Bharat movement that's announced for a country like India, we find surprising, but it's an important one. And it's in a similar way when people come to us and when we are advising them, we are very clear about certain things that we want our clients to look at. And what are those? Those are very clearly, first of all, take right advice. That's the first hygiene as you start. Remember, everything comes with a particular cost. If you don't pay it at the right time, you will pay much more when it comes to an investment round, when it comes to a strategic discussion, and so on and so forth. So I think you are talking to the right set of people is extremely important. And Anshu, when he speaks, he will talk about his philosophy when he engages with companies, and he's been advising a lot of them. It is people like Anshu who you would want to get to in the right perspective, who can take you to the next level. And it is not about paying money to them, but selecting the right person. That to me is the first factor that comes to my mind. The second thing that comes to my mind is there is a lot of fluff that is on the internet. There's a lot of fluff. And people, when you go to a doctor, many of the doctors say that if you're going to do a Google and come to me, don't come to me. And it's a similar thing that we also tell, is that if you have a preconceived notion, while you've done some search, which may be stale, which may be biased, which may not be accurate. So I think there's a lot of fluff. Don't get into those things. Get to the right advisors who will advise you. Third thing is, if you're a co-founder, make sure when you're incorporating any entity, you are putting a co-founder agreement together. More than setting up of co-founder agreements, we end up as a law firm solving the problems between the founders. And what happens is you burn the bridges, you're not able to see eye to eye, the product dies, there is no intellectual property that remains, and it's a loss to everyone. Our advice is start with a co-founder agreement, put your house in order first, and then start the whole thing. Fourth important thing is don't neglect compliances, don't neglect your accounting, because the hygiene factors is the first thing that comes to the fore when any investor looks at you. Before even they reach out to you, they have done their diligence in the public domain. And today, every time that you operate, you are creating footprints on there's electronic footprint that you create, and you can't erase them. And to that extent, you must make sure that you're completely compliant with the law of the land. Hire a good accountant. He will make sure that your books of accounts are clear. So those are few things, Prajakta, that come to my mind as we advise anyone who is yet to be born as a venture or is just born as a venture.
Right. No, great. That this is very helpful. And coming from you and Ecologic, which has been in the league tables, the top league tables for so many years together now. I think each of your words have to be really written down by the people here and followed to the T. So
can I add something to what Vivek and Saurabh said? So one of the first questions which you asked was around what has not changed from a VC lens or investor lens. And I think so what investor or a VC fund or a PE fund looks at is different based on the stage of the company. So in the early stages, there's really not much of revenues. They may just have, somebody may just have an idea or a product or may have some revenues. So even the VCs don't have much to go by. Okay, so some of the things they looked at is, have the founders thought that, is this a sustainable business? What that means is somebody built something during the COVID era, and once COVID goes away, will this business survive? Does this have scale? Because there's nothing wrong with somebody opening up a small kirana store and having 10 of them. But that is not typically a venture funded business. A venture capitalist, they want to look that something can go to 100 million or $1 billion. Okay, they look at big businesses. A third, they look at obviously the capability of founders. Have they done this before? And they have a number of conversations with them before they even make a decision. And lastly is what they feel. And this goes a lot by talking to potential customers where they might sell to, and potential references of those founders to figure out what is their DNA. do they have the DNA? Because being a founder is probably of a startup, early stage startup is probably the toughest or one of the toughest jobs in the world. So they look at the ability to execute. Now, this is in the early stage. As you go to the later stages, a lot of these things are already proven. So let's say you're gone to a series B or a larger round, these are already proven. Then you're looking more into what are the economics of the business, how bigger it can go, and so on and so forth. So that was one thing which I wanted to mention about. And since a lot of our audience is probably a lot of the early stage founders, and some of them also have not founded, maybe thinking, have ideas. The most important thing, according to you, is to have found the right partner. If you, and let me tell you, it is more important for you to spend a lot more time in finding the right partner for your business than finding the right partner for your life. Okay, because the ramifications of a startup where you do not get along with your founder, where you probably are spending 15 hours a day and only spending 4 or 5 hours with your spouse, is just huge. So I would say that it's very, very important to do that.
Great.
Thanks.
That's insightful. So again, coming, like you said, since most of the people here are early stage or seed stage, or we also have idea stage startups here. So can only an idea get a fund, get funding from investors, or how much is the money in the bank that they need to have? What is the kind of resources they need to have before, and what is the stage they need to reach before they can think and go for funding? This question is for both you and Saurabh.
Yeah.
Okay. Saurabh, you want to go first, or?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I think indeed it is a pertinent question, and it does comes to everyone's minds when you are just starting the journey, that whether I would be able to raise capital, and when I'm just beginning, how I would be able to raise capital. Would VCs or investors be interested in this? And particularly, as you said, most of the audience here are kind of in that journey. See, I think there are 2 or 3 aspects around it. First aspect is, for sure, it is hard, for sure, right? Because in some sense, you have kind of in your venture, you have 3 kind of stages in your business at a very, very top level. When you are starting, when you have a team and you have an idea in mind, right? At that point of time, investors are taking several risks. They don't know what your product would look like. Would that product would have some technical challenges in terms of implementation? Would you be able to execute the building of the product? Would that product be valued in the market? Would someone be willing to pay for that market? Would you be able to scale that product or not? So all these questions are very much unanswered right now, right? So investors are taking a lot of those risks at that point of time. Your next milestone is that when you build a product, and you might have some pilots going on, you might have some early revenues, or you might be some pre-revenue. That's when your product risk is a little bit reduced. Investors can see and feel what your product is look like. So as you keep on kind of progressing, you are de-risking your investors. For that, you as an entrepreneur could demand a higher valuation from investors, and you can attract higher investors. So for sure, I think as you move forward in the journey, your ability to raise capital eases. But said that, it doesn't mean that the answer is no for that, right? We see a lot of founders who are at an idea stage are able to raise capital and are able to attract kind of angel investors or pre-seed investors, right, through VCs and so on and so forth, right? But said that, I think I would really encourage not to use that as a milestone to start your venture.
Exactly.
I think if you want to start a business and say that once I raise capital, I will take the next step, I think that is what would one is that it actually shows that your commitment to the venture, right? I would put it a little bit bluntly that you have to get going. You don't have to depend on a third party like an investor to bet on you first and then you venture, right? I think what external community, including investors, is looking for is signal that are you committed to your venture? Are you willing to take take the plunge to make sure to keep it going. And along the way, you would have people backing you, including your VCs as well. So don't make it as a kind of a point where until I get the money, I won't start. Right? You have to get going with your venture, and somewhere along the way, VCs might back you. Which also means that it's very important that you plan your venture. Right? I think you don't have to say that, hey, I have an exciting idea, I'm so excited about it, and you start doing it, right? You also have to plan a little bit your finances well, right? I think, and sometimes lot of founders neglect it because they kind of get excited with the view that there is so much funding that is available, and there's some I would get funding, right? I think there's a bit of a overconfidence bias that is there, that they might get funding, and they might very well, right? I don't mean to say that founders may not be able to raise capital, but you need to plan. You need to make sure that you have 12 to 18 months to 24 months of cash flows with yourself to make sure you are able to sustain yourself for next 18 to 24 months. But if you might get funding early, great. I think you might welcome it and you might onboard that partner, but at least you are not dependent on it. At least you are not at the mercy of that investor who might negotiate terms which you may not appreciate, or might arm twist you because they can see that your survival depends on them, right? So plan your finances really well, bootstrap, maybe find some consulting gigs, maybe take up a job, right? I think there is nothing wrong with building your product while you are working somewhere, right? I think you need to make sure your business goes, right? And it could be very well part of your strategy that you start working somewhere, but you burn a lot of midnight fuel to keep your venture going.
And that will show the hustling capacity of the founder, like you said. So even Sudhanshu, since you have been advising on both sides and seen through a lot of deals, what would be your opinion on the financial status or the financial comfort?
Yeah. So I will continue a little bit on from what Saurabh has said, is that contrary to all these stories you see on the media, on your story, on LinkedIn, that 30 funded companies got funded last week, India is on a roll, we had the best quarter of funding, all these VCs are coming in. It's not an easy task to get funding. It's a very difficult task. It takes a lot of time and effort. And if you ask any VC, because I'm a LP in VC funds, I don't do angel investments, but I talk to VCs every week and I talk to startups every week. And it is very easy to get swayed, and especially in the early stages, that it will be easy to get funding. It does not. It's not at all easy. Funds take at least go through at least 250, 300 pitch decks, and maybe they'll decide on one company to fund. Now, typically at idea stage, this is what happens. And with a lot of people, 3 friends get together, they're doing engineering together, they're studying together, they're hanging out, spend a couple of weekends, they decide, oh, wow, this is a great problem to solve. And immediately they want to build out the best product, launch it, and they feel that they'll be able to get funding and so on and so forth. So I would say, yes, that is how original ideas start off. Yes. But at that point, you talk. So let's say you are building a product which is targeted towards stores, or targeted to educational institutions, or towards the logistics, say truckers. At that side, you sit down, you talk to 10, 20, 30, 40 of these potential clients and get an idea that, is this something, like you may think so it is the greatest idea, and they may not think so. That's number one.
Right.
2, when you talk to them and you get an idea that it is, yes, they think so, it's a great idea. You may think so they'll be ready to pay like $100 a month for that. They may think so they can't. So not only is the question of what you're building for whom, can they afford to pay for it? Thirdly, you also need to go and talk to some of the peers in the industry, some of your friends and family, or probably people more senior to you, and ask for an audience. And people are very gracious. They will spend time with you and they will immediately point holes in your story or what the problems are. Once you have done all these things, then you actually make a call whether you want to go ahead and build out a product. Again, a lot of founders, what they do is they start from zero and they will want to build the perfect product platform in the world. They want to go from point A to point C. And what I tell them is that don't go from point A to point C, go from point A to point B, show it. And that is the concept of, you talk about a POC or an MVP. Right. You show it to potential clients, get their feedback, and then do it. But it's very easy for a product or a platform to get bloated, and it becomes more difficult to roll back. And lastly, it's very important that you need to have the infrastructure support to take it to that initial stage, which is whether it's a POC or an MVP. Right. Okay. And for that, you need to have some funds available or some grants available. And you have got Nidhi Aayog, you've got, grants from the government. They are not easy. Again, these are not easy. It takes time. There are incubators and accelerators where you could join, which can provide you support to get to a POC or MVP. And the last point I want to make is that, when people talk about an idea getting funded, it depends on the idea. Today, if I rewind back, say 20 years back or 15 years back, and I had an idea to build a WhatsApp, okay, the possibility of that getting funded is phenomenally higher as compared to today. I come up with an idea, I want to build a WhatsApp. So the context and the time period and what problem. Are you the only one who's trying to solve the problem? Or are there 10 other people who are already solving the problem? So if there are 10 others, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. If you are solving it is in a cheaper way, more effective way, or addressing a different audience, yes. But in that case, it may be difficult for you to get funded at the idea stage. You may have it to launch it, have some customers adopt it, be ready to pay for it before you may be able to get funded.
Right. No, very, very relevant points, especially on the, part where, we have to get the external validation in the form of customers or friends, family, mentors, like you said. Now, when Saurabh and Sudhanshu have been talking about, the number of months of funds that you need to have, the runway you need to have, what are the actual timelines we are usually looking at for a startup to get funded pre-COVID and post-COVID is what I would like to ask Vivek, because he's been seeing a lot of deals from the legal side happening through. And yes, Vivek, would you like to come in here?
So, Prajakta, my view is that it's case dependent. Obviously, each company is different, each investor is different, each situation is different. Having said that, I think the investors post-COVID are taking a little more time in terms of doing their diligence. Remember, the number of companies that got incorporated and number of startups during the COVID times, and the LinkedIn threw some data in terms of number of people using co-founder, founder as designation has shot up really high, which means that, there's a lot of chase for money. And which also means that demand and supply comes into play. Obviously, the stock market is running at the peak, and therefore, the angel investors who are HNIs, family offices, and what have you, they are all they have options at this point in time to make, for want of a better word, easy money without risking their capital. But having said that, as you mentioned, there are deals that have happened, small, little to large one. And each of them have taken their own sweet time. But remember, when it's a fresh deal, when you have had little experience to show, and you are coming into the market with an idea, which is, at a POC stage or at a very nascent stage, the diligence the customer, with the vendor, with the ecosystem is very high. So, the timelines have increased for sure. And when we say timelines have increased, it also means that the chances and the probability of you landing up with funding also, the probability has possibly reduced to a certain extent. Having said that, the good ideas do continue to attract capital, and that's pretty visible in terms of the numbers that you mentioned. having three things from my perspective. One is, how do you cut this timeline? Okay, let's try and understand as to are there any ways in terms of cutting these timelines, be it now at an early stage or at a later stage. Is again goes back to your hygiene. How well prepared are you, and how well prepared you always are. When I used to be at Persistent working, and we are bringing in the same philosophy, is that we used to be always ready for any eventual potential transaction. Okay, be it an IPO, and that was a stated goal by Anand, that we will do an IPO on the Indian stock exchanges, and we were always prepared, and we succeeded third time. We keep telling this to our clients, that be prepared all the time, so that when the opportunity strikes, the paperwork, which can be daunting and which could take you back after you've done the real hard work of convincing that you are worthy enough as an idea, as a founder, to get investment, you essentially then don't get dragged because of the paperwork and the rest of it. So remember that the back things can be worked out in a manner that when there is a real opportunity that strikes, you are able to, effectively cut that down. That is in your hand completely. So make sure that you are fully prepared on that. Second is that, when you prepare your deck, or when you prepare your business plan, or let me step back. And when you are approaching an investor, remember that there are basic things that he would expect. He would expect a deck, he would expect a business plan, he would expect certain things to be clearly visible to him. Once he looks at it, then only you are invited to the party in terms of a conversation and discussion. Now, if you go without those preparations, obviously your timeline is going to increase. Now, some of these things is important for you to understand as to what is the process that the investors follow. What is it that is the bare minimum? Anyways, whether you are from an IIT, whether you have a super idea, whether you are, second generation and whatnot, it's very clear to me that, you are looking at a situation where if you are well prepared, you will cut down the time. Rest, obviously, the market dictates, situation dictates. You might be lucky that you are cutting down the time because of the factors which are unknown. But in the post-COVID time, Project, our observation is that there is an increase in timeline. You are looking at least one additional month of investment of time.
Right. So the startups need to be prepared in terms of the funds availability, also with respect to this, extended time that they are going to require to raise their funds. Now, when you talked about, the market dictates, or, the market is, looking at some specific things. So many a times we hear about flavor of the season from the investor perspective, or last year we saw a lot of deals happening in ed tech, in health tech kind of areas. So I would like to ask Sudhanshu and Saurabh, is there any flavor of the season, or is there any certain market trend which is there right now, or you see happening in the next year or two, where startups should focus on?
So I want to add something else what Vivek said, which may be relevant to the startups, is that and this is just a rule of thumb. Okay, normally when you're looking for raising, you can expect anywhere between 3 to 6 months for the process to take place.
Right.
And when you are raising, you normally raise for probably 18 months. Okay. Could be 18 to 24 months, number one. Having said that, this is for businesses like a business to B2B businesses or so on and so forth.
Right.
But then certain businesses are like direct to consumer businesses. For example, let's say it's a paper board or a Bombay shaving company or so on and so forth. So a lot of these other businesses like to spend a lot of money. They want to get to the pole position, the number one position. Whether it's a number one, Flipkart is maybe the number one, or, so they're competing others. So they spend a lot of money to get to the top position. So these other businesses could potentially be raising every 6 to 12 months. Okay. So you have to keep that context in perspective when you're talking about it. And the third thing is, in really early stage, when you are talking about uh, probably an idea stage, or you have built some version of the product. And at that time, if you are raising funds, maybe less than a crore, maybe 25 lakhs to a crore kind of a window.
Right.
In those kind of times, you are trying to just have funds to get to the next goalpost, which may be either going from a zero product to a POC or a MVP, or from a product to early revenues, which may take anywhere between 9 to 12 months and do another round.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
Very relevant. So, you have that immediate goal on mind and fund it. Don't look, way beyond the horizon. That will make your funding attractiveness better. Right?
True.
And Saurabh, would you like to talk on the flavor of the season, or what you see coming in, or what interests you currently?
Yeah.
So all of the panelists smiling here.
Yeah, I think a couple of aspects here. First aspect is that I would say any good investor would not be betting on kind of flavor of the months or fads or very short term opportunities, right? They are investing for long term, and they are investing for 4 to 8 years horizon. So they are trying to kind of do a crystal ball gazing and trying to figure out that what the world would look like 4 to 6 years or 4 to 8 years down the line. And the investing that the opportunity that we are investing in today would be able to capitalize on how the world would look like down the line, and they would be able to benefit of that. I think even if you think from this COVID perspective, no one said that hey, because COVID, there is a immediate short-term opportunity that has arrived because people in short-term students are not coming to college, and because of we are investing in edtech. The thesis was not that. The thesis was that kind of investors who betted largely on edtech was that it's going to be the new normal, right? I mean, they might go wrong with their thesis, but their thesis was that they are betting on the new normal where more and more students would be kind of okay to leverage digital learning as a platform. More and more employees would be working from home, or a certain sector of employees would be working from home, or would be kind of operating in a distributed team, right? So the thesis is always kind of from the long-term perspective rather than the short-term perspective. So I think entrepreneurs who are trying to build business, I think they should not get into the bandwagon of a short-term opportunity. I think there is a difference between a trader and an entrepreneur, right? A trader operate on a short-term opportunities, and entrepreneur operate on long-term opportunities. So I think you could be someone as a trader, and you could get huge value out of leveraging a short-term opportunity, but that may not be sustainable, and that cannot be repeatable in some sense, right? That is one. I think you earlier asked this point on this aspect of kind of market forces and shift in market forces and things like that. See, I think whether COVID or not COVID, I think an entrepreneur need to be agile enough to figure out that, hey, there is some market force which has changed the landscape, and they are agile enough to adapt to those changes and change their business model. I think, I mean, just in pandemic phase, you might have seen and noted a couple of success stories that people started with a business, COVID hit and it disrupted their business model. They quickly kind of pivoted and kind of change their business model with the new normal, and kind of were able to capitalize on that. So I think it's all about agility. There is, if an entrepreneur is going to run a business for next 6 to 10 years, there is definitely going to be 2 or 3 such kind of disrupting changes that would happen in the market. And you need to make sure that you are agile enough to adapt to that, right? I think every business goes through such disruptions, fundamentally change their business model, and the entrepreneurs who adapt to that would eventually come out as a winner.
Right. And yes, one question what, all the startups would be eager to find an answer to is, how can you reach the investors? how can you get their eyes and their attention. Now of course with the COVID and work from home and a lot of changes in the way we are working, digital platforms have also become a source. So I would like to ask on that, all three of you, as to how do you think, would you like to have a LinkedIn or any such kind of a conversation to start with, or would you prefer introductions through your funded founders? What is it that from an investor perspective you would look for?
So I'm going to answer this question, and Saurabh can say whether this was a good answer or not. Okay.
Right.
Okay. We'll sit on the both sides of the equation, and Vivek, you can moderate or mediate in between. Okay. So I do want to take that earlier question because I have a slightly elaborate response on that, but I'll answer this one quickly. Today, the VCs and everyone, they get tons of emails, they get tons of messages, and I think that it's very tough for them to respond to each and every one. It just, humanly it becomes a challenge. So they have to use their best judgment. So as a founder, you want to start investing and building in your network from day zero. Day zero means you don't even have a product. Today you are studying, you're studying in a college or whatever, you want to start building in your network. And I would say dedicate a certain part of your time towards building that network. This is primarily on a couple of things. One is obviously LinkedIn. Secondly, I sort of had a discussion going on. Clubhouse is now coming up in a big way, where a lot of people have engaging discussions. So bottom line is that when let's say you're planning to engage with VCs, you need to start very much in the future, start following that, start commenting on them, and these need to be logical. These not really, great show, congratulations. No, it has to be thought out stuff. And then there are a lot of events which happen. Luckily, Pune, the number of physical as well as earlier physical and now online events around the startup ecosystem has significantly accelerated over the last 5 years. Right. So you need to start participating in them. So this is, and then you start connecting to the VCs and all. So this is how one mode is there, which is going to be, has to be a part of your DNA, where you're always connecting, always talking, right, always mentioning. The second thing is definitely go ahead and try to, and now let's say you're trying to raise a round or something and you want to talk to a VC, definitely try to explore through your connects. You can get a warm introduction to them. And thirdly, even if you don't, VCs also realize that, okay, you have a good idea. So you don't write a 10-pager email or 50, 30-page slide deck, you send it to them. You have some crisp summary and you send them a small lines, so small brief, but make sure you follow up with them. VCs would also I also would like to see the persistence of somebody who wants to reach out to me. So you don't hesitate to following up and saying that, hey, I hope it didn't go to spam, or sending a LinkedIn message. You have different mediums to approach out with them. Yeah. Saurabh, please comment.
Yeah. I think in general, I would say VCs are very approachable, and by nature of business they are in, they need to be approachable so that entrepreneurs could reach out to them, start having a dialogue in terms of how they could work together, because fundamentally that is what they do day in, day out, speaking with entrepreneurs, finding right opportunity to work with. Said that, I think there is always a flavor of getting a connect through a referenced channel versus kind of cold calling VCs. Because VCs land up working with so many entrepreneurs and day in, day out, we get so many founders approaching us. We'll end up prioritizing, deprioritizing at our end, and because just the sheer volume of the opportunities that comes to others. So I think it's always a good idea to find a good reference way to get connected with a VC, right? The other thing which I think is very, very powerful is that particularly when you are at a very early stage, you are kind of maybe a first-time founder, you don't have huge amount of experience, or you don't have huge amount of network, start be part of an incubator and accelerator. I think incubator accelerators, they themselves have the network. They keep on doing demo days. A lot of VCs also kind of approach these incubators, accelerators to find opportunities to work together and all. So I think best way is to be part of that a program or an incubator program, so that you get access to a lot of networks, not just VC networks, right? I think you could possibly find a co-founder through that network. You could possibly find customers through that network. You could find service providers through that network. So I think when you are early in the journey, there is a value of being part of that incubator. There is also a lot of so many different people who are working as a part of the program. So there is a lot of cross-pollination that happens. You can learn so much from different founders, what is working for them, what is not working for them, because there are so many pieces that you have to put together to make your venture success, right? I think you have to go through a really crazy amount of learning curve. And for that, if you one is that you do that learning by making mistakes, and there is nothing wrong with that, but it will just elongate the process. But why to reinvent the wheel and learn from people who have done that part of the journey. We also get, I think the other way is to bring kind of associate with a good advisor mentor, who themselves have their own network. So figure out where your strengths and weaknesses are, and see if you are not able to fill that skill set through a founder or a management team. Bring an advisor, try to see how you make sure you fill that gap some or other way in general.
Right. That's great. That's really insightful. So even from Vivek's side, I would like to have his opinion on, this flavor of the season, or, like I know even Sudhanshu wants to come in. So, we'll quickly get your comments, Vivek, and then have Sudhanshu also talk on it.
No, I think let Sudhanshu address that. People will benefit more from his comment. Sudhanshu.
No, I think so. This point has been well covered. I actually wanted to cover, the flavor of the month or the flavor of the year question.
Yes.
Which is little bit, which I think so may help a lot of first-time founders and early stage founders who are thinking of doing something. So I will actually ask folks if they have a second, note this down. There was a podcast by Mohandas Pai with Prime Venture Partners. I would ask you to write it down and hear that podcast. So I am extremely bullish around the startup ecosystem in India, that the next decade is going to be the decade where potentially the Indian startup ecosystem and venture capital will grow the fastest in the world. So as a pace of growth, it will be the fastest. US is a very mature ecosystem where they have a lot of funds and they have a lot of money, but at the pace of growth is going to be fast, really fast out here. Now, why do I think so? There's a bunch of things which have happened. One is that the number of internet consumers, which is over 500 million because of the geo effect, this has led to a tremendous amount of opportunities. With over 75 million SMEs out there, I believe that the number of vertical SaaS companies will be created. Number two is there's going to be a significant amount of OTT or online, whether it's media, whether it's gaming, whether it is, cricket fantasy. There's many players and many success, online short video content. So a lot of success, a lot of huge companies would be created in that space and are already being created. The China effect, where China was eliminated from a lot of removing their apps, and China also caused a disruption in this COVID era, where people and countries realized that yes, they got stuff cheaper from China, but it was the cost of disruption to countries is huge. So now, even though things may be more expensive from sourcing other countries like India, I believe there's going to be a tremendous amount of move of manufacturing from the other countries to India.
Right.
Next is what the UID framework and Aadhaar did for the literal explosion for the fintech in India. the NDHM, the National Digital Health Mission, and that will also do a similar thing for health tech in India. There'll be, where there'll be a tremendous amount of companies which will plug and play into this framework, and they can build a lot of fantastic companies. Now, COVID led to tailwinds for not only edtech and health tech, but also a lot of direct-to-consumer brands. So what that means is that a lot of the what we call as the digitally native brands, like a Beardo, a Let's Shave, a Paperboard, so on and so forth. Earlier, you had to be on the shelves, but now people had no choices. And then the Generation Z, which came in, which is very open to experimenting. So this will lead to a lot of brands like the Bombay Shirt Company, all these companies, which will lead to a lot of consumer brands being created out here.
Right.
And one of the last thing, and this is really close to my heart, I am a huge proponent of SaaS. And unlike a lot of the traditional VCs believe that you build SaaS in India and sell outside India. I am a firm believer that you can build and monetize by building SaaS for India also. And you don't need to replicate that success across the developed countries. You can also replicate it in Southeast Asia. And why SaaS is because there was a rapid adoption of SaaS. I mean, because of this, work from home, COVID, whatever, all that happened. But India, this huge 25, 30 years of BPO experience, which we have, where all the call centers around the world, or the top companies of the world, are in India. India has a huge experience, domain experience in customer success, which is such an important part of SaaS. And I believe that this will lead to a tremendous amount of, that is one of the key parts of SaaS, and we have enough talent out here to support this.
Right.
Sorry, that was a long monologue, but
no, but
some of my thoughts around this.
Yeah. No, even though long, I think it was like, very relevant, and it was as if you were laying down the runway, with those lighting, so that startups get that ready runway to land on, is what I would say. So you don't know how time passes when you're having fun, and with this really insightful, deep discussions, we are towards the close of our 1 hour. And definitely this is going to give some food of thought to all the startups who are going to go into lunch session now. But I would like all of you, the three of you, to quickly come in with your 1 or 2 quick takeaways that you would like to give to the startups who are here and also listening live on YouTube.
So, Prajakta, let me go first. I wanted to make 2 important points for everyone to note is that I think, when you get into any investment cycle, and when the documentation and everything starts, one, you are exhausted to a situation where, 3 months, 6 months have passed and you're preparing. And when the term sheet comes, you want to sign it on that date. Remember that, that term sheet is Trojan, is like a completely loaded one. Many a times it's a very one-sided document. You must make sure that you go and consult someone, because it's not easy for you to decipher. And I know we have 2 of my co-panelists as investors and whatnot, but everyone sugarcoats and says that this is a standard thing. Okay. And there's nothing standard in life. Everything is negotiable. Everything is to a context, and make sure that you understand what that context is. Don't sign on a dotted line unless you have understood the complete context behind what is the implication of it. That's a very important one. The second one is that once the investment comes in, okay, you've done all the hard work. Remember that the investor relation is as important as customer relation, vendor relation, and your employee relation, because you then don't take that investor for granted. He continues to be your partner, and treat him so, because he deserves that respect. He deserves. And remember, what we continue to see is that the misunderstanding is because there is lack of communication, there's lack of transparency, there's a lack of approach. If you go and approach your investor, he's more than willing to help you out, but it is you who have to do it, because he is running a portfolio. He has 20 companies that he is effectively trying to, and those, it's about crying baby gets the milk. And to that extent, when you reach out, you will definitely get what you need, but you need to reach out. So 2 things from my side. One, when the term sheet comes, don't just go and sign because you're exhausted. I know there's a deal fatigue that starts to kick in when the documentation, but that is your only ability and weapon when it comes to anything that goes wrong. To that extent, don't sign as the. And the second is, once the deal is consummated, your investor relation is not neglected. So I just wanted to leave everyone with these 2 things.
Great,
Thank
great.
you.
Saurabh, your takeaways.
Yeah, in short, I would say 3 things. I think start up with a view that you want to solve someone's problem, not to make money. Making money is an outcome which would eventually come. But if you are passionate about solving your customer's problem, that will give longevity to what you are trying to do. That is one. Second piece is that hustle, but also plan. I think there is a great value in hustling, but without planning and without having discipline to this, if I may say, kind of this method there is a method to this whole madness around startups. So have a discipline around your venture and your startup from very early days of your venture. And the third piece, which I would say, is kind of take advice from mentors, take advice from advisors wherever you can. When you are early in the journey, I think it would that advice would go a long way. So yeah, I think these 3 points.
That's great. That's great. What about you, Sudhanshu? Your quick take.
Yeah, so after a long time, I have heard so many people calling me Sudhanshu, although everybody calls me Anshu. But I sincerely believe what I said earlier, that the next 10 years is the age where we'll have tremendous number of startups. So this is, according to me, a fantastic opportunity for entrepreneurs to build startups. And know that this is a journey which is very difficult. I don't want to discuss courage. It is very difficult and you will fail many times. But if you are dedicated, you are passionate, and you will succeed. And surround yourself with people smarter than you. You are the sum of 5 people around you. And make sure you are surrounding yourself with smarter people. And know this, people are very hesitant of reaching out to senior folks. I'll give you a classic example. I know we are wrapping up, but Anand Deshpande, everybody knows. I mean, Vivek knows that. There's a Thai associate member who's a small company which does home services. He reached out to Anand Deshpande. Anand Deshpande invited him and spent an hour with them. Okay. The point I'm trying to make is today, as compared to 10 years back, the support structures are tremendously, I mean, there's so many support structures around there. You just have to reach out. People are ready to help. And you take your own decisions, but you try to make informed decisions. So that's my advice.
That's really great. I think there is nothing for me to say now. You 3 have wrapped it up so beautifully. I would like to thank the Center of Innovation, Incubation and Linkages for this opportunity, for me to moderate this amazing panel discussion today. And I'm sure the startups here and all the founders here would have taken, in this discussion and will work on the areas. Thanks a lot. Is Dr. Palkar here? Would you like to comment from the innovation team, CIME team? Yes, someone from the Innofest team is coming to conclude the session.
Thank you, Prajakta.
Yes.
For that very vibrant panel discussion that you had. We will now break for lunch for an hour for all the participants who are online. And we will rejoin here at 2 in the afternoon. And at 2 o'clock, we wait for another vibrant panel that we have post-lunch. And that post-lunch panel will be led by Geeta Tulia, and this is on leveraging the ecosystem for change. After that, we have half an hour pitch round for those who have not done the pitch in the first round, in the morning round. And then we have the grand gala finale, the valedictory and the prize distribution, for which everyone is waiting to see if their name appears in the list. So see you all back at the same place at 2 p.m. today. Thank you, panelists, for such a nice interaction with everyone. And I hope we have had some questions and you've been able to take the questions as well. Thank you, Prajakta.
Thank you, Dr. Palkar. Thank you, Prajakta, Vivek. Saurabh, always a pleasure.
Thank
Okay.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.